welcome to One on One, New York's longest-running sports call-in show. My name is Brendan Shorey, and I am joined today by Trey Rodriguez. We have Kurt Sipple behind the board, Brogan DeSherdo on video, Joe Henry helping out in the back as well today. And man, are we excited to be here this morning, or if you are listening on the radio tonight. Before we even look at what we're going to talk about today, Trey, how you doing?
Doing good. Back for my second show in a row. This time, well, just not a third host I got this time, but this time at the B host. So I'm really excited to be here today. There's been some great stuff going on in the sports world recently. Really in the past 2 weeks between Indy 500, the two playoffs. Now we got tennis going on, and WNBA season's really starting to take shape now. So yeah, it's been pretty good in the sports world, but myself been doing pretty great as well.
Terrible weather today in the Bronx. We are protected down in the basement of Keating Hall in the studio. But let's take a look at what we're going to talk about today. And depending on where your allegiances lie, what your sports teams are, today's show could be the most exciting one yet. It is a big time for playoffs, especially if you support the boys in orange and blue. Speaking of the Knicks, that's where we start with the NBA Conference Finals. But we actually start with the Western Conference Finals and the Thunder taking down the Wolves. But don't worry, Knicks fans, the Knicks are next. And we will take a look after the Knicks at potential finals matchups and how we see that potentially going down. We then transition over to the WNBA and the very hot start for the New York Liberty. Kurt Sipple, our very own Liberty beat reporter in the back currently, will join us for that one and give his insider knowledge. Then we'll take a look at the other sport currently in the playoffs, the NHL. Oilers, Panthers, a cinematic rematch that we will dive into. After we've talked about all the playoffs, we bring it more local with a couple segments on the Mets and Yanks before expanding to the rest of Major League Baseball. Finally, we will touch on some tennis with the French Open currently going on. And then after all that sports talk, a couple of personalized segments, a draft between Trey and I. Stick around to see what it is we are drafting, and you got to let us know who wins. And finally, we will wrap up the show with one more personalized segment. That one, we are not going to tell you. You got to stick around to see that one. You got to tune in. If you ever have any questions, any thoughts, or just want to let us know that you disagree with our takes, please call in 718-817-2750. I repeat, the number is 718-817-2750. I do want to take a few minutes here at the beginning of the show. I know we're not talking about it later, Trey, but the NFL just had their OTAs, their optional team activities, where you see all these players are coming in. You see the rookies finally getting some reps with the rest of the team. Again, they're optional. You have players like Myles Garrett who aren't there yet. But how exciting is it to see that while we are still watching and looking at the playoffs for a couple of sports, that we can see one of our very favorite sports kind of sitting on the horizon.
Yeah, so it's so great when the NFL's coming around the corner. You look at all these other seasons and they go on for so much longer, and the NFL just seems like a short little blip in the year. But to have it coming around, I'm very excited as a Jaguars fan. I get to see my Travis Hunter running around out there on the field looking completely opposite to Brian Thomas Jr. There's probably zero chemistry between those two guys right there. But yeah, it's super exciting. I mean, I can't wait for it to come back in September. It's always such a good feeling when the NFL comes back, because it's definitely the sport that I feel people care the most about, and there's just so much on every Sunday you have something to look forward to every single Sunday, watching your team either win and feel great, or watching your team just get absolutely obliterated like my Jaguars and feeling awful for the rest of the day. But yeah, I'm really excited to see OTAs coming around. Should be exciting to see kind of how the rookies start developing, and not even just the rookies, just how every player in the league has moved on from last season to here.
It always is fun looking at getting your first look at the rookies. You mentioned Travis Hunter and how much fun he's having out on the field, and I'm sure everyone's seen the videos of him out there in between reps dancing. And you mentioned the very opposite of Brian Thomas Jr., who looks all business after coming off of a great rookie campaign last season, and your team, the Jaguars, look great. It is always fun seeing that on the horizon. We know we have sports wrapping up, but just knowing that that is only a couple of months away, these players are already looking to get in there and start working for the season. I know you're not a New York guy, neither am I, but we have to talk about New York here. Jackson Dart has shown up at OTAs. He's looked good. He also has Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston to mentor him. The Giants have somewhat of an interesting season coming up. I'm a Cowboys fan personally, so I can never say
not a big Giants guy.
No,
sure.
no, definitely not a big Giants guy. But they definitely have something to watch for this season. A lot of them, I have a lot of Giants friends here, and they kind of dreaded Sundays last season because they knew they were going to go out and get smacked around. But now they have a quarterback to go out and watch for, which is always fun whenever you have that new guy in the building.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Jackson Dart, it should be interesting with him. He was kind of a guy who shot up in a draft. Really, kind of seemed like the last few weeks, even the last few days. I don't really know how I feel about him. I don't know if I thought it was a reach or not trading up for him, but it's gonna be very exciting to get that quarterback, especially from Ole Miss. Look what happened the last time they had an Ole Miss quarterback. Ended up being one of their best QBs ever. So I think I think Jackson Dart, but not gonna probably play too much this season. That's what you got Russell Wilson for. But he's going to be able to learn a lot underneath him and even famous Jameis, But, yeah, I think with Dart, Giants got something to look forward to. Should be a fun player to watch in the future.
And, Trey, I want to get your opinion on this. We've seen Myles Garrett has not shown up to the Browns OTAs yet. And keyword in there is optional.
Right.
And he has gotten on social media, he's gotten some people who are supporting him. He's over in Japan with his girlfriend. Some people are supporting him and kind of emphasizing that optional aspect. But then you also have those people online who are kind of trashing him for it, saying, listen, you just got this big contract. You're supposed to be a leader. Why are you not at the optional team workouts? You should be out there and showing these young guys how to get it done. So I want to ask you, which side of that are you on?
He should definitely be there. I'm totally on that side. The fact that they did get signed such a giant contract, the least you could do is show up to these optional team practices, and show the young guys around, be the leader for the team. It's important to do that kind of stuff to set a precedent, and it's just it shows. This whole entire offseason he was pouting and stuff, and he finally got his big contract that he wanted, and now he's not even showing that. He's in Japan with his girlfriend. It's something like that sets a bad tone, and I think it's definitely a very bad move by him. I think he should be at these OTAs right now. But, sure, does he need them himself? No. He's basically the best edge in the league. But still, I think it's important to not just only think about yourself individually, but you got to be there for your team yourself, especially if your team's awful. The Browns are terrible. So you got to be there and show some kind of spark for the guys. So, yeah, he's got to be there. I think it's totally unacceptable by him.
I agree. I support the supporting your significant other aspect of him being in Japan, but all offseason he was saying how much he just wanted to win and not going to the optional team workouts kind of takes away from that. It contradicts it a little bit, especially when the Browns went with their first round pick and got their first pick in the draft at 5 overall and got Mason Graham, another D lineman. I think that just being there and your leadership and your experience is how you're going to win ball games. And obviously he's not there. That's going to do it for NFL OTA talk. We will actually get into the show now. Guys, don't worry. And we will be right back after this break with some Western Conference Finals recap. Stay tuned for that.
What's up, everyone? It's Joe Henry, one of your New York Mets beat reporters for the 2025 MLB season. From Soto's slugging to Senga's strikeouts, I'll have you covered from Citi Field all year long. Follow me on X at JoeHenry_4 for exclusive interviews, game day insights, and live coverage of every play. So take a ride on the 7 train with me as the Mets continue their quest for World Series glory. WFUV, your home for New York sports.
I'm Chaz McAdams.
And I'm Ben Oppenheimer.
And we are two of your hosts for On the Hill, the flagship podcast of Fordham Athletics.
We'll be talking about everything from football at Moglia Stadium
to hoops at the historic Rose Hill Gym.
Discussing the ins and outs of all Ram athletes, teams, and big games.
If you want to be part of the Ramily, then listen to On the Hill from WFUV Sports.
And welcome back into One-on-One. Brendan Shorey here with Trey Rodriguez. And Knicks fans, be patient, you're next. But we're going to hop into a little bit of Western Conference Finals recap. The Thunder take that one over the Timberwolves 4-1. Shea wins Western Conference Finals MVP. He's already favored to win Finals MVP despite not even knowing who he's playing out of the East yet. Trey, what did you see from the Thunder in this series that made them so dominant?
It's just, well, first of all, the main thing that you see from them, I think everyone says this, is their depth. And they got a 10-man rotation, which is absolutely insane with that young group that they got. And it's just, you can't even say really one thing in particular. The team's just so amazing all around. I mean, even when you got guys like Jalen Williams, who is, you know, he's been kind of rough these playoffs. He's had a couple good games, but for a lot of times after the games when I go on TikTok, I see AI generated videos of him singing about tour dates or something. So he's not been having the greatest playoffs, and they're still pulling through and winning and winning so frequently. I mean, these guys are just unstoppable. It's kind of insane. I didn't think they were going to be this good this season, but they're going to the finals now very easily. I mean, that Timberwolves, it was a joke. That series was such a joke. And I mean, what? They had that one loss where they lost by 40 points. How does that happen? And then they come back the next game and the next game was close, but then the game after that, they just kill them. It's crazy what goes on with how the playoffs work, but the Thunder are looking so dangerous. I don't see between either the Knicks or the Pacers, I don't see any way really in which the Thunder are losing. Like they're terrifying.
The thing that makes them so dangerous, in my opinion, is that they can get it done on both sides of the floor. I think if you want to go and if they want to go and win a very offensive shootout, high-paced kind of game, they have the offensive firepower to do that.
Yeah.
But then if it's going to be a slower-paced, lower-scoring kind of defensive battle, they can do that as well. And that's kind of what we see from both teams in the East right now with the Pacers and their high-paced offense and the Knicks and their kind of slow-paced offense as well. I mean, you look at how this Thunder team is built, and you have scorers. You have Shea, who MVP this season. Regardless of whether you think he should have won it or Jokic should have won it, should have been Jokic.
Yep.
He did take it, and it's fair. He averaged 32 during the regular season. He's a great scorer. He's great at getting to the line too.
Yep. A little bit too good at it.
We've all heard the free throw merchant chants at every single away stadium he's been at in the playoffs. But you have guys like him, and then Jalen Williams, and even Chet, who's the third option on that team on offense. And
Chet's
then you
great.
flip it to the defensive side, and you have the Dorcher Chamber, who made life miserable for Ant.
Yep.
And Julius Randle, really, in Game 5.
You got Caruso too.
Yeah, who flies under the radar because of how many guys you have.
Yeah.
It's just like you said, there's so much depth with this team that they can get it done on both sides. And what I'm curious too, because last season we saw how they went out against my Dallas Mavericks, my Luka Magic. Yeah, I see you nodding in the back, Kurt. Yes. Yes. They went out against my Dallas Mavs in 6 games. And kind of the big worry last year with this Thunder team was they had no playoff experience. No one thought they really could make that deep of a run. But then you come into this year, and does that one more year kind of help? So I want to know, like, going into the finals, obviously you have guys in the East who have had that playoff experience more than the Thunder have.
Yeah, totally.
Does that argument still hold that maybe there's a chance they don't get it done because they don't have the playoff experience?
No way. I don't think it holds. I don't think it holds up whatsoever. I think honestly with basketball, I think compared to at least some of the other major sports, I definitely think the playoff experience is not as important as it comes with other sports. You got a team as, all right, sure, the whole team's young, whatever. They won 68 games in a regular season. There's only so much that experience can do to hurt a team, and it's not like this is the same team that's going back into it either. They got Hardenstein and Caruso, NBA Finals winner. He has a ring. I don't know if he's exactly the best veteran you want for your team, but he has that. He obviously has that role where he's played perfectly fine in the playoffs, and he's very, very capable of sparking and almost taking over a game sometimes on short little stints. But this team, regardless of the playoff experience, look at the teams they're going against, right? The Pacers, they're not too experienced in the playoffs. They're kind of the same way right now. They've only really had 2 years that they've been in the playoffs. It's their second year. If they go against the Pacers, it's really the same exact situation. And except, sure, you might have guys like Pascal Siakam or something who are veteran players in the playoffs, very, very experienced, also a finals winner. But I don't think that experience is going to outweigh just the overall skill of the Thunder. And same thing with the Knicks too. They're fairly new in the playoffs as well. A lot of these guys have had past playoff experiences, even some past final experiences. But look, experience, like I said, matters. It matters in some sense, but it's just the overall talent of the Thunder. It just outweighs everything. They got a great coach too. He'll be able to help out all the young guys get through whatever playoff woes they're having.
Well, here's the reason I kind of pose that question is you look at this series against the Wolves and even like Game 5 winning by 30 points.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna take care of teams like that. But in the close games, which we kind of saw in the series against the Nuggets, where it's a close game, it comes down to the late game, and we saw that with the Aaron Gordon buzzer beater with the three, on his three, where Chet goes and misses a couple free throws, where they don't really have that experience closing out close games, especially since this season they were handling teams, beating them by 20 points, 30 points. They didn't have a whole lot of close wins. So that's my whole kind of concern is, are they going to be able to close out games in the finals when it matters, especially if you're playing against a Tyrese Halliburton who just had one of the best playoff games I have ever seen, or like a Jalen Brunson who is one of the most clutch players in the league. If it really comes down to it, especially with the playoff whistle and Shea not being able to just get to the line immediately, a lot of Shea hate coming here.
He deserves it all.
well-deserved Shea Gilgeous-Alexander hate on one-on-one today. But that's my biggest worry with this team going into the finals. I'm not worried that they can't score. I'm not worried that they can't play defense, but can they perform in crunch time is kind of what I'm getting at here.
I guess, it is a totally valid argument too, because I think on all sides of the ball, the Thunder are the better team than whatever two teams will get into, whatever team will end up in the finals.
We thought that a lot of people thought that with the Celtics too over the
that
Knicks.
is true. So, I totally thought it was gonna be Thunder versus Celtics, but look where we're at now. But I guess when you look at it too, yeah, sure, they did have, and even against the Timberwolves too, their performance in some of the close games could be a bit concerning. But you know what? I really thought against the Wolves, especially in those in their two close games, in their two close games that they had with the Wolves, I thought that they handled themselves very well in the closing crunch time minutes. It seems like they were in much more control than how Anthony Edwards and his Wolves were, and that was a complete contrast from what it was like with the Nuggets. Because that Nugget series, I understand your concern with that. That was, sometimes they look brutal out there. Chet missing his free throws. SGA, that was some of the few times that he was just not finishing at all during those final minutes, where that whistle was not getting blown and he was driving in, missing layups and stuff. But I feel like with the Wolves, they're really starting to get it under control. This is their, made it to the third round. Now they're going to the finals. I think just the fact that they've been so dominant this whole playoffs, besides that Nugget series, it really just shows, like, I think they're starting to piece it together and they're starting to understand what it means to actually be in the playoffs. I would be concerned with the Knicks and the Pacers, but same thing too with the Knicks and the Pacers. I don't really think either of them are actually doing too great either in crunch time. There's so much sloppy play when you watch them, like, even with Jalen Brunson and Tyrese, I think a lot of times Jalen Brunson is known for, I don't agree with the clutch narrative that much with him. I can't lie. I think there's so many times where he forces so many bad decisions. when they hit, it's awesome, and then he looks like the most clutch player ever. But when they don't hit, it's really bad. And even Tyrese, he's amazing at hitting those shots, but when he's not hitting that amazing last second shot to tie the game, bring it to overtime, or those other 2 games he won it on the buzzer beater, he can look rough out there sometimes. And I think a lot of times it's just you got to dig through that gritty basketball where everything's not going your way, and that's what the Pacers and Knicks have kind of had to do this whole series. So I think if the Knicks and Knicks or the Pacers, whatever team makes the finals, keep on playing the way they do in the crunch time, compared to how the Thunder played against the Wolves, I definitely think the Thunder will take this, because I think the Thunder showed that they can handle themselves in scary situations.
We've talked a lot about the Thunder. We've given them their props, but I want to also kind of talk about the Wolves and where they go from here. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is kind of that press conference after Game 5 with Anthony Edwards sitting next to Mike Conley, and they asked him basically how was he upset with going out like this, and he kind of replied, "I'm 23, I'll be back here a lot," but he's more sad for not being able to get 37-year-old Mike Conley a ring, and I kind of want to get your opinions on that. Is that kind of saying that I'm 23, I'll be here a lot? Is that a little selfish of Ant kind of saying it? I'm not exactly upset that we lost.
I think when you look at it, I think it's like a good and a bad answer, because if he didn't throw in the Conley thing, it would have been a terrible answer. But I do appreciate that he actually did take into consideration that Conley probably got he has 1 more year left in the tank, so I can appreciate that him for that. But Ant's a weird guy. He makes a lot of weird comments, as we all know. He's kind of not a media trained guy whatsoever.
And the truth.
Yeah, he just says what's on his mind, and he's probably being really so for real when he says that. He doesn't really actually have that much concern. And you know what? He has the talent where he absolutely will be back, and multiple times in his career, and probably will make it to the finals eventually. But I think it does show something that, like kind of nonchalantness, right? Where you're like, oh, whatever, who cares? This year we got outplayed. We'll be back in next year probably. But then we know what happens. It doesn't happen probably. This is Minnesota, right? They're not exactly known to be a historically great team, and things can go down pretty quick. So I don't know. I think that in that sense, that answer was kind of bad, because, you can't just be saying that when you're 23 years old. You've been here twice now twice to the playoffs, and maybe
2 years in a row.
2 years in a row, and it's not always guaranteed. We see stuff go down so much. I mean, look what happened with the Mavericks and stuff, right?
Okay. All right.
Anything can happen nowadays, apparently. So it's the answer's concerning. It definitely shows a bit of character stuff, but in a sense, he is right. He will be back, and I think everybody knows that he'll be back. He's one of the future stars of the league. I don't think he's at that superstar level just yet, personally. I don't think 25 points is
really.
I don't know. I don't at all. I love Ant, actually. He's one of my favorite players to watch on the court. I don't think 25 points per game every season, which is what he's been doing, is a superstar level, and he's inconsistent, man. He can be really bad sometimes.
I think he's a superstar.
I'm not generous with my superstars.
I'm very high on Ant. I'm very high
on him too. I just don't think he's there yet. I don't.
You think he's got a couple years left before he can actually become a superstar?
Honestly, I don't think it's a couple, maybe 1 or 2, I would say. But he has to get past that 25 point per game threshold that he's been at for 3 seasons now. And he's been shooting so much better from 3, but what I would love to see from him, I think what would make him a superstar is if he uses athleticism better. Because when I first saw Ant come in the league, I was like, all right, this guy's just going to be a crazy dunker, he's going to be flying all over the place. And you don't actually really see him that much from him anymore. It's kind of strange. He's stuck to the 3-point line, and he just goes around and just chucks up shots, and it pisses me off because he can do so much better sometimes because he's just so athletic. He can fly in the paint, dunk all over people. We see what he did to Yuta Watanabe 4 years ago. Dude.
Yeah, that was brutal.
We know. I watched that when that happened as a Raptors fan, man. I saw that. That was terrible. But listen, if he can pull that athleticism into his game more and really put it into the paint, I think that is how he'll become a superstar. But I don't think right now he is, because I don't think 25 points per game is enough. He does show up in the playoffs, though, besides last series, which was pretty brutal. But, he's the killer of superstars, whatever, like the legend
collecting
killer.
them like Infinity Stones.
Yeah, the legend killer. But I don't know. I'm not. That's just me. I don't give that title out a lot, but I don't think he's a superstar just yet.
Okay.
Very soon though. Very soon.
Okay. Well, Timberwolves, just to bring it back to the team as a whole, made a big move last offseason where they ended up trading Cat for Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo. That was their big move last offseason to try and make a bigger push this season, and they got to the same spot. They lost in the Western Conference Finals last year, and now this year. The trade looked like it was working for both teams. It looked like it was mutually beneficial for both the Knicks and the Wolves, but unfortunately for the Wolves, they didn't make it out of the Western Conference Finals. Do you think they run it back with the same group? Do you think they go out and make another blockbuster move? Where do you kind of see them heading this
Wolves for
offseason?
KD.
Really?
I don't know what's gonna happen, but I think if KD, that's definitely one of those places that he could go potentially.
With a package centered around kind of Jaden McDaniels?
Oh, that'd be rough losing Jaden. I love Jaden
or would it be
McDaniels.
Julius Randle?
I don't think it'd be Julius Randle.
Rudy?
No, I think Jaden McDaniels probably would be the best thing for them because the Suns, they're going to blow it up, right? This team's not working anymore. They need some young pieces. But Jaden McDaniels is the youngest guy you got. Is youngest star player you got. I also think I don't know, Dante didn't really do that much either. I think you got to throw in Dante. I don't know what their draft capital looks like, but I'm assuming they probably have maybe not really. I mean, look what
They traded a lot for Rudy.
They did. I guess remember that. I was like, So I'm not too sure, but I think KD, that might be one of his better landing spots that he could go to.
Go make a splash. Now you run out Ant and KD and Randall all in the same starting five.
That'd be kind of crazy. That's a very ball dominant lineup right there.
It is.
Maybe you gotta lose Randall too. I mean, you can't get rid of all Gobert, Randall, and
that's too much.
McDaniels,
That's way too much.
I would maybe say 2 out of 3 of them or something would have to go. So maybe you keep Rudy. I don't know. Because I guess Julius Randle and Kevin Durant in the same lineup, that's kind of brutal. I can't lie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if that happened, that would be one of the greatest offensive starting fives in the league. The defense obviously would take a step back. But obviously that's not our call. That's up to the Wolves. They have some thinking to do this offseason after losing the Western Conference Finals. That's going to do it from us here with Western Conference. We're going to come back in a couple minutes and talk about the Eastern Conference Finals. Knicks and Pacers still going at it. Another game tonight, and we will be right back with that.
Hey sports fans, it's Bobby C. I'm the sports director here at WFUV. From live broadcasts of Fordham Athletics to coverage of all the professional sports teams in the NYC, we've got everything a sports fan could ask for. Like talking sports? Check out One-on-One, New York's longest-running sports call-in show, as well as our diverse collection of podcasts. If you're a Fordham student interested in joining our program, feel free to shoot me an email, bobbyc@wfuv.org. And as always, thank you to all of our listeners who support us every week. 90.7 FM is the home of WFUV Sports.
I mean, obviously, no lead's safe, and both teams are going to continue to fight to the buzzer. And got a lot of respect for them over there. And we just got to continue to keep playing our style of basketball and keep grinding it out.
Just saw an opportunity. Saw an opportunity to utilize all those hours I put into the gym. And the game wasn't looking great for me as well, but for all of us. And I just wanted to do whatever it takes to help put us in a position to win. And like I said, it's a testament to my teammates, having trust in me and giving me, putting me in spots where I could succeed and utilize my talent. So just testing. Shout out to the guys in the locker room. This is a great team win. But we know we got to be better than we were tonight if we expect to find a way to get another win.
And welcome back into one-on-one for our Eastern Conference Finals segment, Knicks Pacers. You just heard a couple of sound bites. Our very own Bobby Chaffardini, the sports director here at WFUV, was at Game 3 in Indiana. Got those sound bites after the game. Very, very cool stuff from him. That was Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. But Game 6 tonight, the Pacers are up in the series 3-2. I'm going to start with this, Trey. Who's your pick for tonight?
Pacers. I got the Pacers winning it tonight, unfortunately. I don't think the Knicks are going to get it. I think they're going to pull it off. It's unfortunate. It's like when the series first started, I was like, Knicks are totally going to win this. Knicks are going to the finals. New York's going to be all over the place. And then this is happening now.
And we actually have a caller. Daniel is on the line. Hello, Daniel. Can you hear us?
I certainly can. Hello, Brandon. Hello, Kurt behind the board. And hello, Trey. And I would talk basketball, but I promised Trey I would call in this week with a brief question about college lacrosse because it is not talked about enough on this show.
It's not.
So I want to say, first of all, Pacers in 6. But second of all, Trey.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on Cornell winning their first title since the 70s? Did it surprise you? Do you think John Tillman is a choker? Or, do you think that this was just a good Maryland team that ran into a great Big Red unit in Cornell?
I think it's exactly what you just said. It's a good Maryland team that ran into a great Cornell team right there. This Cornell team was just fantastic the whole entire season. I mean, they lost one game. The whole season. CJ Kirst, obviously the MVP, Tara Warden winner.
Warden winner.
He just looked phenomenal that game. 6 goals, 1 assist. It was crazy from him. It really was. And it was good to see that bounce back from that game before, because that game before he got shut out for the first time in his college career. It was looking bad, and if I was a Cornell fan, I'd be scared for that finals. But he bounced back, played against a phenomenal Maryland goalie, and they still came out there with the win, won by 2 goals, pretty convincingly. I think really, this was just a great job done by Cornell. Not a choke job by Maryland. They did a better job than I thought they would do. So I definitely think that, for Cornell, for Kirst, this was huge for the program. First time in 50 years. I don't think they're going to be running it back next season, but it was just a great job overall by the team, and it's huge for the program.
Love the college lacrosse shout. Thank you, Daniel, for the call and the question. Back to a little bit of Eastern Conference Finals, back to a little bit of Knicks and Pacers, and you gave your shout right before Daniel called in Pacers tonight. Why do you think so?
Because I just, look, I was impressed that the Knicks went back to the Garden and won. I actually don't really think they're like the best home team ever. I mean, they lost the first 2 home games, but now they're going back to the Pacers place, which is a pretty dangerous environment to be in, I would say. Fans get rowdy there. If they were to win tonight, I actually think that they would win the series, the Knicks. But if the Pacers, I think the Pacers have it on them. All these games have been very close. Even last game, Knicks did win by a pretty big margin, but it took a little while for them to get there. And Pacers are known for coming back, man. They're a very fast team, and with how much this Knicks team is like pushed to the limit, man, you don't know what's gonna happen with the Pacers.
And we have another caller, ESPN's Pat O'Keefe, play-by-play guy for the Knicks. Hello, can you hear us?
Gentlemen, I can. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for coming on today. It's awesome. So we wanted to ask you questions about the Knicks, actually. Believe it or not. But we were interested in seeing what your confidence level is in the Knicks going into Indiana and taking the game tonight against the Pacers.
It's a tough series to figure out. Confident that the Knicks can win tonight? Yes, of course. I mean, the Knicks have won 2 of the last 3, and we all know that they should have won game number 1. Confident that they will win tonight? I wouldn't go as far as to say that. I don't think we saw the Pacers team in game number 5 that we're going to see tonight in front of their home crowd. I don't think we saw Tyrese Halliburton, the other night that we're going to see tonight in front of his home crowd. But the Knicks certainly can get it done. They did what they needed to do the other day to give themselves this opportunity. And, they still need to, which they've done a couple of times in these playoffs, put together that 48-minute game that Tom Thibodeau always talks about. And it's more important now than ever because, as we know, there is no margin for error.
So what do you see from the Knicks in Game 5 that was different in the 3 losses they had previously?
Well, I saw them get off to a good start, and that was really important. That crowd was dying to get into it from the very beginning. Brunson comes out and scores the first 6 points, and then he throws the lob to Mitchell Robinson, and the Knicks are off and running. They actually never trailed in the game. They got off to a good start. They built that lead in the first quarter. And then this is the new rotation that Tom Thibodeau is going with. It's kind of that defensive-minded group with Karl Anthony Towns to begin the second quarter, and that group did a great job. DeLon Wright and Deuce McBride and Landry Shamet and Josh Hart. And then Towns is unquestionably the focal point of the offense when that's the 5-man unit on the floor. And it worked in Game 3. It worked in the second quarter of Game 4. And it worked really well in game number 5.
So Tyrese Halliburton had one of the best playoff games in recent history, 30, 10, and 15 with 0 turnovers. But then he followed it up with kind of a poor performance in Game 5. Did you see anything from the Knicks in Game 5 that kind of caused that? Did you see them playing Halliburton any differently?
I think it was – I didn't see anything drastically different. What I saw was – a couple of things. I think Halliburton's play was impacted by the 2 points that I just made a moment ago. The Knicks got off to a good start, and that defensive-minded unit in the second quarter did a good job on him. Now, the Pacers and Halliburton specifically, they're kind of a front-running team. If they get off to a lead, they can blow you out, and they can run you out of the gym. But they're not the kind of team that's going to scrap and claw its way back if they're behind. So what I saw more than anything was a disinterested Tyrese Halliburton. He's kind of an odd player. I mean, he's so talented. You mentioned that performance he had in game number 4. That was an all-timer. But we've seen this year at the Garden, when it was the Knicks' home opener, in fact, Halliburton didn't score. He had a scoreless game at the Garden. And then, of course, what he did the other night, scoring 8 points, taking 7 shots, and really looking disinterested and disengaged. It's hard to imagine that's going to be the approach that he takes tonight.
Awesome. ESPN's Pat O'Keefe, thank you so much for calling in. We really appreciate it here.
Always enjoy coming on with you guys. Thanks so much.
Of course. All right, and Trey, we just heard Pat O'Keefe talk about what the Knicks need to do tonight against the Pacers to take Game 6, and you mentioned Knicks take Game 6. You think they have the series. Who do you think the Knicks need to step up big time tonight? I mean, last game was informally known as the Landry Shamet game. But is there someone that's kind of a fringe guy, someone who's just cracking the rotation in the playoffs, like a DeLon Wright, that can come in and be that guy to step up and take the game for the Knicks?
I don't even think the guy who needs to step up is a fringe guy. It's a guy who should be one of their best players, and it's been very underwhelming this whole series. He finally had this good game. Finally had an all right game last game, and that's OG Anunoby. He has been very concerning to watch, and it makes me sad as a Raptors fan because he kind of does this all the time in the playoffs, and he just doesn't look the same. And his 3-point shooting has been abysmal. Every time you see it go up, you just know it's hitting off the side of the rim or something. It doesn't look good. He's great at finishing, but he needs to get his 3-point shot back on track. And on top of that too, he needs to just play better defense. He was taken for the team to be a 3-and-D kind of guy, and his defense and his 3 has just not been there. I don't even know what you would call him because his 3 is not there and his D is not there. So I don't know what kind of player he is right now. If there's anyone who needs to step it up tonight, it is absolutely him. He needs to kind of replicate what he did last game, but make it more consistent throughout the game. I definitely think he is the most important piece for the Knicks to win tonight.
I think it's very interesting seeing what the Knicks have done with kind of what Tibbs has done with the whole rotation. Because we saw, during the regular season, you had OG, Hart, Bridges, Brunson, even Cat, all at the very top of the league in terms of minutes played. And I'm curious, kind of, is that step back in minutes, is that causing him to have less of an effect, or is it the opposite, where he's having less of an effect, so Tibbs is taking away some minutes and using a deeper rotation?
That's actually a really good question. I think it could be the latter. I think that he's noticing that the bench guys are better than he thought they are. Because I mean, being so for real, that bench was only used because of McBride in that game 3, getting 4 fouls in like 1 minute, getting 3 fouls in like 4 minutes or something like that, and he needs to go to his bench. And now the bench is playing great because guess what? They're pro basketball players. They can play too. So I think that as a result of the bench actually showing that they can play meaningful minutes in playoffs, I actually think that he's starting to take a bit from OG a bit minutes wise.
Uh-oh, Kurt. I
so
saw
Trey,
you put on
I
the
actually think
headset.
I actually think why the bench was good is because you know what happens when guys get rest, and those guys on the bench have gotten a lot of rest.
Yeah.
Their legs are fresh to run. And as we saw that the Pacers were completely outrunning the Knicks, they were outdoing the Knicks, and then immediately when the guys that had fresh legs that haven't played all season come on the court, who aren't tired, who are very ready to play defense and play the game, they start doing well. Isn't that impressive?
It's amazing.
That's just how basketball works sometimes, that maybe rest here and there, maybe not playing 45 minutes a game every single game, even when you're up 30 points. Maybe that works sometimes, you know?
Yeah, but Tibbs is a great coach. He just runs his guys into the ground every single game, basically. Yeah. Man, his own philosophy got proven wrong because some guy decided to almost foul out, like get 3 fouls in the first quarter, and now the bench is showing what they can do. I don't know why he wasn't using that bench anyway. That bench is kind of solid, you know. Like Shamit's not a bad player by any means. Like it's not like he's some bum that you're having like your 13th man on the bench or something. He's a decent player. Like yeah, that Knicks bench is kind of concerning, but you have some guys that could play basketball in there, you know.
You do. You actually do, believe it or not. That professional basketball team in the Knicks has some guys on their bench that can make an impact. You said OG is the big one tonight.
Yep.
We saw Landry Shamet do it last game. You have these guys who, DeLon Wright, you haven't seen like all season.
Yeah.
Precious Achiuwa, you haven't seen a lot in the playoffs.
He should stay on the bench.
There's actually a really funny clip I saw before the series of Rick Carlisle, and it looked like he was almost trying to get them to play Precious Achiuwa, kind of saying like, yeah, they're so good. The Knicks are so good with something about their big men, and he kept throwing Precious Achiuwa's name in the mix, and I saw like an edit online, almost as if it looked like Rick Carlisle was trying to trick Tibbs into playing Precious at some point in the Eastern Conference Finals,
That's
which
a good strategy.
it worked because he's played a couple of minutes, but Rick Carlisle reinforced that after games 1 and 2 as well. He doubled down and tripled down on that, and he was like, yeah, I mean, they play good and they got great guys on the bench. Yeah, Mitchell Robinson, Precious Achiuwa, just
sneaking him in there.
Sneaking him in there. It's like those lists you always see on online. It's like top 10 players or like top 10 MVP in terms of odds, and there's always that one guy. It's like, yeah, all right, we're sneaking this guy in there now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I figured I had to share that.
I did not know he was trying to do that.
No, it's really I don't know if he was actually trying to do that or just seeing. I don't know, but
no one can compliment
from the outside looking in, it looks as if he's trying to get Tibbs to play Precious at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Which didn't work in the first few games. It worked in, I want to say it was game 4. Precious got a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But game 6 tonight between the Knicks and the Pacers. But I want to kind of talk for a couple minutes. We have obviously the NBA Finals to follow, and the Thunder have already booked their ticket. I want to know, you said you think the Pacers win tonight, so you think it's going to be a Thunder Pacers Finals. Who do you have in that? Who's your MVP?
Yeah, I got a gentleman's sweep by the Thunder in the finals.
In 5, wow.
Yes, I do. I think that they'll win the first 3, Pacers win the 4th, and then they'll get and then the gentleman's sweep will happen. I have no confidence. I have no confidence in the Pacers winning
Are you
this.
going with Shea as your finals MVP?
I don't really know who else
That's
would win
so
it.
boring.
It is boring, but like realistically, who else is going to get it? Because the next best guy in the team, Jalen Williams, has just been playing like all right,
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any other guy who would go on to win it. It's definitely going to be Shea. But yeah, I'm very very convinced. I think it's like a 99% chance the Thunder win this.
I'm gonna take the Knicks to beat the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think they take the next two. They complete the 3-1 comeback.
I think that would be a better series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They make it to the finals. Thunder Knicks in the finals. I've been saying I think personally whoever comes out of the West is taking it.
Yeah.
I was originally I was on the Celtics, and then obviously they got taken down by the Knicks, and then I flipped, and I was Nuggets to Timberwolves to finally realizing that it was always the Thunder.
It was always the Thunder.
Which I just did not want to do because of my strong dislike for Shea.
Yep.
But I think the Thunder are gonna take it. I'm not gonna give him 5. I'm gonna give him 6.
Okay.
I'm also gonna be boring and take Shea.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the offense for them. I could see a world in which Jalen Williams wins it. If whoever comes out of the East kind of figures out a way to defend Shea, kind of like the Nuggets did, where they kind of, I don't know exactly kind of what the strategy was, but it was a lot of doubles, a lot of traps, kind of having help nearby that could shift over as soon as Shea put the ball on the ground. If whoever comes out of the East, which I think the Knicks, if they can defend Shea like that, I can see a world in which Jalen Williams does win that Finals MVP, which I think would be a lot more fun to see than Shea.
Definitely.
Personally, that's honestly going to do it from us here, though, talking about the Knicks, talking about the Thunder earlier, talking about the potential Finals matchups. We are done with the NBA, and we will be right back after this break with some WNBA talk. And Kurt Sipple in the back will be joining us.
Hi, this is Mike Breen, WFUV class of 1983. WFUV is the flagship station of Fordham Athletics with live coverage of Fordham football, Fordham men's and women's basketball, in addition to Saturday one-on-one. Stay right here on 90.7 FM for all things WFUV Sports.
Hi, this is Michael Kay, WFUV class of 1982. WFUV is your home for all things Fordham Athletics, with live coverage of Fordham football, Fordham men's and women's basketball, in addition to our Saturday show, One-on-One. Stay right here on 90.7 FM for all things WFUV Sports.
And welcome back here one-on-one. Brendan Shorey joined by Trey Rodriguez. Kurt Sipple will join us in a moment, our very own Liberty beat reporter, to talk about the New York Liberty. Before we talk about that, please, if you have any questions, any comments, you want to agree or disagree with our takes, call in. The number is 718-817-2750. I repeat, 718-817-2750. We would love for you to call in and join us, give us something to agree or disagree about. But now let's talk in some WNBA. The New York Liberty off to a very hot start. They won the chip last year and then come into this year, start 6-0, first in the Eastern Conference. and they look impressive this year. And I want Kurt to be here when I start the interview questions for our beat reporter. But I'll start with this very broad, Trey. But what have you seen from them this season? I mean, they look so dominant so early.
They do, and I think what's really impressive here too is that almost 5 of the players, Kennedy Burke is very close to 10 points per game, but you have 5 players that are averaging above that 10-point mark. So this is not just a one-man job right now. And you know what, too? Even at the beginning of the season, Sabrina Ionescu, she had a bit of a rough start to the season compared to, Brianna Stewart and hey, Kurt. John-Claude Jones. But she had a bit of a rough start, but she's starting to find her ground now. And so that's even more scary because now you look at the 6 games that they played, 2 of them have been close. The other 4 have been complete blowouts. They're completely dominating, basically, besides those 2 games. And this team just looks almost unstoppable, really. There's so much depth, and it's like, what can you do to stop them?
Yeah, they are a very deep team, and we are now joined by Kurt Sipple, the Liberty beat reporter, one of our 3 Liberty beat reporters this season. Welcome, Kurt.
How you guys doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm chilling, man. It's awesome. The Liberty are off to such a hot start, so it's really fun to talk about them.
And Kurt, you correct me if I'm wrong, but you were at the game on Thursday?
Yes.
And how was that?
Really good. I mean, the Liberty taking down the Valkyries, which is another really cool story. First time in the W that the Valkyries they're starting a season right now. And it's really cool to just see that new teams are being added to the WNBA, seeing that the league is growing. That was probably, outside of the playoff games last year, that was probably the biggest crowd I've ever seen at a regular season WNBA game, Liberty WNBA game, just in general. And it was really just pretty cool to see that happening as a whole right now, that the sport is growing, and that people are starting to really tune in and watch it.
It is awesome to see that, and we're seeing with this growth a lot more household names from the WNBA. Obviously, you have those Sue Birds, those Brianna Stewarts, those Candace Parkers that everyone kind of knows, but you're also seeing, I don't want to call it a new wave, but you're seeing a lot of people more recently. You see the Caitlin Clarks, the Paige Beckers, even if you want to go as far as Sabrina Ionescu's, like you're seeing a lot more of these household names, and it's great for the expansion of the sport.
I mean, even like when you talk about that, like Sabrina Ionescu competed against Steph Curry in the 3-point contest last year in the All-Star game, and it was awesome because she competed with Steph Curry and shot from the same line and shot with the same balls. Like, it's the same, like...
She almost won.
She almost did.
It was close.
She's hot from 3, as always. And even last night's game, I mean, the Liberty got off to a really slow start against the Mystics, but remained perfect. Are now one of the, I believe, the
only perfect team in the East.
The only perfect team in the East, and the Lynx just outlast the Mercury last night to also be perfect. So they're both 6-6, and they're on a crash course against each other pretty soon.
They play soon. That's awesome, and it's so good to see. Obviously, the Knicks are having some success, but as someone who's not from New York, but kind of follows the New York sports, it's fun to see a New York basketball team with so much success recently.
It's fun to see a New York basketball team win a championship. That's something that doesn't happen very often, and I don't think the Knicks are going to do that. And also, for someone from that you're from Dallas right now, I mean, you're enjoying 2 number 1 picks, one that's coming up, and then the one Paige Beckers that has joined the Wings. I mean, it's a little ridiculous that you guys just keep getting lucky with this stuff.
No, it's awesome. It's awesome.
A little bit rigged.
I think it's a little rigged.
I don't know about rigged. Unlikely, sure.
Yeah. The cold envelope.
You can't convince me Adam Silver doesn't have something to do with that.
Hey, we gave away Luka, and we got the number 1 pick in return. That was the deal with Adam Silver.
And then you also get the number 1 pick for the W as well. So
yeah. Which is awesome.
Sure. Some basketball,
back-to-back number 1s.
Young basketball studs in Dallas.
It's true.
It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah,
Paige Beckers is awesome.
Paige Beckers is awesome. She's out right now, actually.
I know she got concussion.
Yeah, out for a couple of games, concussion protocol. Bringing it back to the New York market here.
Just wanted to complain for a little bit.
Bringing it back to the New York market, Kurt. I want to ask you kind of what you saw from the Liberty on Thursday night. And kind of expand that to what you've seen from them so far this season that's making them so dominant.
Well, it's championship pedigree. I think that's the best way I can describe it, is that they are the best team because they know how to play with each other. that they are so good at being able to outlast the other teams. Like Jonquel Jones was out against the Valkyries that night, and they did not have a center to play against. So they were being dominated in the paint. It was really difficult for them to get almost anything off of them, the Valkyries. And you had people on the Valkyries that were just really just owning them at that point. Like Janelle Salon was really great for the Valkyries, 13 rebounds and 18 points. But you had the people that you needed to step up. You had Brianna Stewart, step up. You had Sabrina Ionescu, step up. And then you have other people that Kennedy Burke, someone that you saw last year and that you hoped would step up in a bigger way this year. And she also did really well with 11 points during that game. Other people that you have to talk about a little bit more. Natasha Cloud, she got the last play drawn up for her. Actually, she didn't get the last play drawn up for her. The last play was drawn up for Sabrina Ionescu. That was a penetrate to the rim and finish at the rim. I said that completely wrong. But and what happened was, instead of that, they shut down Sabrina Ionescu, the Valkyries, and right after that, Natasha Cloud, the newest member of the New York Liberty, took right over. So that's something that's just so impressive that they are able to do, is that they are not only able to be so good where you can see that they're dominant, but you can also see that when a challenge is being faced to them, they are so able to fix it and be able to outlast their opponent. Because the Valkyries, let's be honest here, new expansive franchises aren't great.
It's rough. It's very
in any sport.
It's usually rough. They're 2-3 right now. They really gave the Liberty everything they had at that game, and they still managed a way to do well. And that's something that has to be the main thing, is that they are really hardworking. And Sandy Brondello, the Liberty head coach, has been able to throw out every lineup that she knows will be successful when it comes to the Liberty.
It's interesting to see. I mean, obviously only 6 games in.
I want to be hype.
No. Well,
there's definitely a reason to be hype,
I
that's
love
for
the
sure.
hype. I love the hype around whatever team. 6 games in, how high are you on this team? Like, are you thinking they're gonna repeat?
They're the favorites. They have to be. I mean, there's no other team in my mind that I see is better than the Liberty at the moment. I can pose the question back to you guys, but I don't think that there is any other opponent at the moment that might have a better shot than the Liberty. Maybe the Lynx. The Liberty took them down last year in the finals. I don't know, man.
Lynx are always around, man.
They are always around.
They're-
That's one thing that's always very important to know. They are always going to be around. Same thing with the people that really gave the Liberty a lot last year, the Aces. I mean, you have a really great talent in Asia Wilson on that Aces team still. I just don't see the Liberty losing. The depth on that bench is just so incredible, and that starting 5 that they throw out there every night is also really good. And when they're at full health, I don't think that there's another team in the WNBA that will defeat them when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
Really well coached, really great chemistry, really deep. That's all I got for that.
I would actually I'd have to agree. I think, they've looked so dominant this season. They've looked like the favorite, as you said. But I mean, it was mentioned the Lynx are definitely going to pose a threat. I mean, the other undefeated team left, the Aces have been great recently, the past couple of years, and the Liberty just look so good as a team. And I want to point out that, I mean, Trey mentioned it earlier, but the depth on this team, and you mentioned it too, Kurt, but 4 people with double-digit points per game. You have Kennedy Burke as well, who's sitting right there almost at that 10. He's sitting at 9.2 points per game. But you also look at kind of how the minutes are spaced out on this team, and you have all but 3 people on the roster who are averaging double-digit minutes a game, and we talked about it with the Knicks too, but fresh legs, and when you have that depth, no matter what team you're talking about, when you have the depth where you're able to keep getting fresh legs in there, it really does make a difference.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look, we see that with the Knicks going on right now, right? Like, you see what happens when you actually put people on the court, and that's what matters. And that's what matters so much with a team, especially the WNBA, right? You have pretty small roster sizes out there, so each player really matters. And it's the fact that the Liberty are able to get so much value out of basically almost every player on their roster. Against the Valkyries, they were running a nine player rotation. Sure, two of those players had like 3 to 2 minutes, but just those few minutes really count. And it's the fact that there's so much trust in that lineup. There's so much trust in each player on that team that they can handle their own and play in tight games like that against the Valkyrie. It's just impressive to see how much the depth of the Liberty have really shown for these past 6 games, and it really kind of is the reason why they're so dominant.
And also just another thing to point out, like they lost Bernaya Laney Hamilton in the beginning of the year to just an injury, and they had her off the roster at the moment because they have to fill another roster spot like you were talking about, small roster sizes. But then you fill that role with someone that takes the step up like Kennedy Burke. Bernaya Laney Hamilton was one of those defensive leaders for the Liberty that really was the general, I guess that you can call it, like floor general, really able to get everything done that she needed to. And that was one of the real reasons why they did so well last year. But you have Jonquel Jones that can really put that defense back on her back. You have Natasha Cloud, another person who, when you pointed out to how good she has been throughout these first 6 games of the season, I think her first game she had like 7 blocks or something ridiculous like that. Wait, let me check on that.
Check that real quick.
It was something crazy with the stats that she put up, but things like that. So she had 8 assists. She had 4 rebounds. One second. No blocks. I was wrong about that. I was thinking about the assists. And she had 18 points. Like, that's impressive numbers for someone that just joined the team, who had a great career throughout the W, her entire career. But just someone to point out that you pick them up. I fear, like, if I'm another W team, I fear what they're putting out on the floor every night. Just because of the dominance and the depth and the shooting and everything else that they can put out and really just run.
And I want to shift it kind of before we wrap up this segment. We've talked a lot about the Liberty, but in a recent interview, Cameron Brink, she came out and it was kind of talking about expansion teams. And she said, in her opinion, before they add expansion teams, they should expand the roster size from 12 players and increase that. And I want to get you guys' opinion on that. Is a 12-player roster too small, or do you think that's the way to go if you want to expand the league? Do you think the route is by expanding roster sizes, or do you think the route is by more expansion teams?
I mean, I think, well, what? I believe the WNBA wants to add to. Oh, no, sorry.
They're adding.
Yeah, they are. So when you look at it from that way, you are adding 12 new a team that has 12 new players on it, right? But I definitely think that roster sizes, honestly, maybe they should be increased first before teams are added, because I think it's more important to really help out the teams that you currently have, get them up and going. They're up and going, but get them just further expanded and have more depth on them. Be able to add more stars to the game. There's so many players that are robbed of the opportunity to play every season because there's just not enough roster spaces. There's just a lack of space, and there's a huge talent pool.
Well, that's exactly what I wanted to hit on, is that you extend the amount of people that are able to go to the WNBA when you expand the rosters. Even when it's 3 more players, that's still a lot of people that can get back on the floor and don't have to play abroad right now if they want to play professional basketball. They're able to play in the W. And that's something that, yes, I think that I think that the amount of people on a roster should go up, but also I think it's so hard for me to say that because they're just adding a team to Toronto and they're adding a team to Portland right now. So I'm really I'm so 50-50, and I understand where Cameron Brink is coming from because LA has had struggles with their roster because of injuries.
They had teams with 9 players.
Yeah. They add Kelsey Plum. You have Rika Jackson, but it's still really. I understand where she's coming from when she says that they should expand rosters because they've been shot in the foot. Cameron Brink was injured last year. I mean, they're still coming out of it right now. They're still 10th in the W. They're 2-5. I understand where she's coming from when she says that, but I also think that expansion franchises allows the league to grow because more people have eyes on it. Because when you start to see that more teams start getting added and more cities start getting added and get more people behind it, then roster sizes can grow along with it. I think that it's not a – I don't think it's a –
either or.
Yeah, I think it's a both thing. I don't think that, like, when you add Toronto and Oregon, why not extend roster sizes? I mean, the more cities you have, the more players you're going to need, and you're going to have expansion drafts. Like, teams are going to start running out of people to take.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say the NBA is around 15.
It's 15.
It's 15 players on a roster. The W is at 12.
12.
If you go through any injury trouble like the Sparks are doing this year, they're playing games with 9 healthy players, with 8 healthy players.
Yeah. Sometimes you're playing with a starting 5 and 2 people on the bench. Like, that's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous
it's like smaller than a high school team.
Yes, it's ridiculous to be able to to be expected to go out and perform with such little rest, opportunity for rest, I'll say.
Yeah, that's true.
That is going to do it, though, for us here talking about the W. Kurt, thank you for joining us, our local Liberty legend, our local Liberty expert. But that's going to do it here for WNBA Talk. And we'll be right back after this break with a little bit of NHL playoff talk. Stay tuned.
You're listening to WFUV New York.
And welcome back in here. We are here to talk about more playoffs, the NHL playoffs. Now, the Stanley Cup coming up, starting in the next few days. Panthers, Oilers, a rematch of last year's finals. The Panthers took that one in 7, and we're looking at what could shape up to be as great of a series as last year. I mean, we've seen both teams' paths in the playoffs so far this year. The Panthers just gentlemen swept the Canes in the Eastern Conference Finals, and the Oilers did the same to my Dallas Stars in the West. I'm not going to say I didn't see it coming because we can never beat the Oilers. Nevertheless, we have the matchup set. Trey, I want to start with, who is your pick to win the series?
I got the Oilers. Even though I think the Panthers are the better team, I think the Oilers, dude, McDavid's face the other day after they won and he was next to the trophy, dude, that was the most locked in guy I've ever seen, bro. It just looks scary. I don't want to be on ice with him, man. It's going to be terrible for the Panthers.
It's so scary watching him play against your team. I mean, I just watched him absolutely dice up my team in the Western Conference Finals. But I'm going to agree. I'm going to take the Oilers, and it's for the exact same reason. I'm taking the best player on the ice right now. And you look at kind of how both these teams are built, and you would normally say, oh, the Oilers' weakness, that's going to be whoever's in goal, right?
Right.
Skinner's
phenomenal. He's playing great.
He had a great series in the Western Conference Final. He looked amazing there. And so now it's like, I can't really say that's a weakness, and obviously unless the Panthers show otherwise. But for that reason, I'm gonna take the Oilers. And yeah, you mentioned McDavid. I mean,
and then something else important to note too is that last year with the Panthers and the Oilers were injured so bad last year in that Stanley Cup final.
Well, there's worries about Zach Hyman too.
Right. That's true. I forgot about that. But So the difference between Zach Hyman and then McDavid and Draisaitl, because they were playing like they were like broken appendages and stuff. They were like shells of themselves moving out there. As of right now, from what I know, they're fully healthy, and that is very scary for the Panthers. We saw literally that Game 7. They were playing empty gas, both McDavid and Draisaitl, and they still took it to only 1 goal. So this I think this is gonna happen different. I hope to God it happens different this year.
I do too. I'm rooting for the Oilers despite them just beating beating my team, which is unfortunate. 2 years in a row now, actually, that they beat us in the Western Conference Finals. But anyways, to mention McDavid again and kind of that video that it always resurfaces this time. Oh, I say always. It has resurfaced this time of year, this year, of him last year yelling at everyone else in the locker room to pick it up, and seeing him on the ice, how locked in he is, scoring goals in the Western Conference Finals and not even like celebrating. And then after the game last year, they didn't touch the trophy, and then this year they did. So it's interesting to see, but we've already kind of mentioned injuries and goalie play. What are some of the keys to the series that you see that can kind of determine which way this one will go?
Well, main thing is that Stuart Skinner has to keep on playing the way he is, because their biggest weakness is goaltending, and he started horrible to the playoffs. He got benched, and Pickard was put in for about 4 games, I believe. But he got injured. Stuart Skinner comes back. The whole Oilers fan base is terrified that we have this absolute bum in net now. And he comes out and he shows the world that he is playoff Stuart Skinner, man. He is phenomenal in the playoffs. Get rid of those 2 games that he had first round. He plays phenomenal in the playoffs. And if he needs to keep this up going against the Panthers, and I believe he will, because it's been like so many games now he's been doing the same thing, but it absolutely cannot falter. He cannot start to get comfortable in net, because this Panthers team is scary. It's scary all around. Great defense, phenomenal goaltending, great offense. It's just such a well-built team, and we already know the Oilers have the top-end talent to drive their team out there to get the wins. But really, when it comes down to it, their defense is just okay, right? Really, a lot of times getting bailed out by Stuart Skinner, which is crazy to say, but it all starts with him. And after that, so he's definitely the most important person. You need guys like Bouchard, right? Bouchard, he's been playing really great offensively, but he's not a good, as a defenseman, he is not a good defenseman. Like, he can't play defense well, and he needs to kind of lock in, play some great defense this series, as well as keep up his offensive pace. And then McDavid and Draisaitl have to just do what they do, right? But a lot of this comes down, and they also just got back Mattias Ekholm too, who is going to be very important for them. I mean, he literally just got back last game, so he's going to be working, going through the works and stuff, getting back and acclimated to playing hockey again. But he's back. Evander Kane, he literally did not play the whole entire season until this playoffs. He's been playing really good for not playing the whole entire season. So he needs to keep on doing what he's doing. There's been some very good chemistry with the line that he's been playing on. It's kind of amazing how he just fits in right away. But he needs to keep on doing it. Really, the Oilers' top end talent, because it's not a very bottom heavy team. Their 3rd and 4th line is like whatever. It really is going to come down to how will the 1st and 2nd line basically carry the group.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring it back to something about Stuart Skinner. Going into the Western Conference Finals, I have a good friend, one of my roommates actually, who's also a Rangers fan.
I'm a Sharks fan, but Rangers is my second favorite team. I'm just worried. I had to rep Lundqvist today.
Okay. He's a big Rangers fan. Obviously, not the year that they wanted to have.
Right.
But going into the Western Conference Finals, he told me, he's like, yeah, like every single game, like get ready for some high scoring games. Like get ready to see 7-5 final scores. I was like, okay. And then game 1, Stars come back in the 3rd, 6-3 final.
Right.
And he like doubles down on the take. Like, yeah, like prepare yourself, like that's how it's gonna be. And then after that, it was all high scoring, but from the Oilers side, not from the Stars side. The Stars seemingly either their offense disappeared, or that's when Stuart Skinner like really locked in. But there were no more high scoring games from the Star side. And I think regardless of whether you say the Stars offense took a step back, Stuart Skinner definitely took a big step in kind of holding the Stars offense to, I mean, very, very low scoring games compared to what everyone kind of thought they were going to be. And so having a goalie who, listen, obviously he's had his ups and downs in the league, but who looks so locked in right now.
Mm-hmm.
He really does. And then you have, and I love that first line for the Oilers so much.
Yeah.
And that's literally like pretty much why I'm going with the Oilers. Is I think just the star power that they have will beat any team.
Yeah, I mean, the Panthers are a fantastically they're a greatly constructed team. They're phenomenal, and it's just so much talent just from top to bottom. And I think that they're the team that's the best built for the playoffs. Right? They don't actually really have like a superstar. I would say they just have a bunch of stars on the team. And honestly, when you look at it like that, right, the Stars were the same way. Basically, they had a bunch of star power. They finally got like their superstar with Rantanen this year.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he vanished in the conference finals. But still, I don't think he's a lower end superstar. So you guys still have a very well balanced team. Panthers are just even more like double that. So I think it's gonna be a very hard series. It's gonna be a very hard series for the Oilers. I do see this going to Game 7 as well. Hopefully this time the Oilers win it this time around. But it will be Stuart Skinner's job to shut down this Panthers offense that really they've really come to life in the past,
especially on the road.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, definitely. Because I was saying that too. This is huge now that you remind me about this. Because the Panthers are just unbeatable on the road. They just win every road game. I was thinking this matters a lot because I don't know actually how this is going to work because both the Panthers and the Oilers are third seeds and for their divisions. They were the third seed. So I don't know who's going to get the home advantage. Panthers definitely don't want the home advantage right now because they're not winning that much at home. But if they get the away, that's very scary for the Oilers.
Yeah.
What's it looking like?
Edmonton has home. Their home game 1.
That's rough. That gets me worried because I want the Oilers to win this so bad. But yeah, I totally forgot about that the Panthers are just absolutely phenomenal on the away games. And the fact that now they're going to be playing 4 of those games, and that Game 7, if it goes to Game 7, that will be away at the Oilers Stadium, unlike what it was last year. So this is going to be it's going to be a very interesting series between them. I mean, you're going to have guys like, Brady Tkachuk. He's going to have Brady Tkachuk, obviously star power right there. Brad Marchand's been doing great stuff. He's been doing great stuff for the Panthers. He's had a much bigger impact than I thought he would. And Bob Vrosky is just playing like Bob Vrosky. Everyone's just doing their job this series. This whole playoffs for the Panthers. It's just been I fully expected this to happen. The Maple Leafs series went on a bit longer than I thought, but they're just dominant. They're built for the playoffs. Getting into the finals now, going against the Oilers. It's gonna be so good.
I will say I have to show some love to the Edmonton crowd. They really do show out, but on the other side, as we mentioned, how good the Panthers are on the road. I was at the gym yesterday, 2 days ago, and I saw it on ESPN, the stat flash, where they've scored like five goals in their last 4 or 5 games on the road. And when you're getting that kind of offensive production, it's very hard to lose. And I want to talk about last year, McDavid won the Conn Smythe despite the Oilers losing the series. It's only happened 6 times ever. McDavid last year was one of those 6. So I want to get your take, your opinion. Who do you think is winning the Conn Smythe?
We're going to go boring here again. We're going to go with McDavid, especially if they win. Honestly, he's just too good of a player to get he doesn't really have bad series. So he's too good of a player to really get shut down like that. And like I said with the Panthers, they're such a well-balanced team that I don't think anyone's going to really shine over the others. I mean, their numbers actually are basically on top of each other. It's like 6 players that like have almost the same exact amount of points, basically. May have fluctuated a bit now with these high-scoring games that they had against the Hurricanes, but really, it's been like 6 players who have been playing great for them. So I just because of who they're going against, I don't really think that any one of the Panthers is going to take it home, even if they win, just because they're such a well-balanced team. Honestly, if there's anyone else who would maybe win it, if Stuart Skinner keeps on playing the way he does, if he keeps on playing the way he does, and let's just say for some reason McDavid has a good series,
and not a great one,
or no, even if he has a great one but not a perfect one, but if Stuart, because he had a perfect one last year, if Stuart Skinner keeps on playing as good as he does, because he's playing phenomenal, if he keeps on playing as good as he does, there's a real shot, I think. Because I can't really see anyone else on the Oilers. Maybe Draisaitl.
I was gonna say I'd take a sleeper on Draisaitl there.
Yeah, he can always show up. I mean, he's really, he's literally in competition for the Hart right now. So, and he's probably not going to win it, but he's up there over McDavid. So he's a phenomenal player too. So I think really between those 3 Oilers players, that's the way to go, especially if they win the finals.
Yeah, Draisaitl, the top goal scorer in the regular season this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I kind of. Obviously, McDavid's the obvious pick, a little boring, but he's so exciting to watch. So I kind of want to take the sleeper on Draisaitl here.
Okay.
I hate doing it though because McDavid's just so fun to watch.
McDavid's
He's so electric out there on the ice. He literally is. Like I kid you not, just watching. It was in Game 5 against the Stars. Puck gets cleared. He's literally I think coming back into the zone. Turns on a dime and beats he's so fast.
Yep.
Beats Rope Hintz to the puck and takes it all the way and scores the 1-on-1 with Hintz kind of on his back.
And that was an absurd goal too.
And Hintz is a fast skater too. But McDavid is just insanely fast and so fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
It actually pains me not to take him as my Conn Smythe pick.
After seeing what he did to you, after seeing what he did to your Stars.
I had to sit there and watch that for. Thank God it only lasted 5 games.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to watch 2 more of him just absolutely abusing the Stars.
Yep.
That it wasn't fun to watch him do it against my team. It's going to be really fun to watch him do it against another team. It's going to be a very fun series to say the least.
Yeah.
And you think this one goes 7?
I think it totally goes 7, and I think it'll be just as amazing as a game as it was last year. That game will forever be engraved in my head. I couldn't watch it. I had to listen to it over radio.
You couldn't watch it?
No, because I was on vacation and I couldn't. I blackout stuff, and so I couldn't watch it. So I was just listening to it on the radio as I used to do when I was younger. And oh my God, the calls by the Oilers announcer, goosebumps, man. It was amazing.
That's brutal though. You didn't get to watch it.
No, but you know what? Sometimes listening to it is
like fun. I mean, like, but I don't know. I'm more of a watcher than a listener.
I'm definitely more of a watcher too. But the performance by the Oilers announcer last year, it was such a beautiful work.
That's fair. We've talked Stanley Cup. We both gave our picks. Oilers in 7 for you, Trey.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking the Oilers. I never gave how many games. I don't want to agree with everything here, but it's got to be 7.
Seems like it's destined, you know.
Yeah, it's got to be 7 games here. A rematch from last year. We both think it's going to look the opposite as last year.
Mm-hmm.
Oilers, same amount of games, but Oilers win it this time. Look for Stuart Skinner to have a big series. He looked great in the Western Conference Finals. We'll look to carry that into the Stanley Cup Finals. Look for McDavid to be McDavid.
Yep.
But that is going to do it for us here talking about the NHL playoffs. After this break, we will be back to talk about the MLB season. We're going to start with the Mets, and stay tuned because we will be right back.
Hey guys, Grace McCarran here with Jack Warner.
And we're two of your hosts for Nosebleeds, WFUV's one and only baseball podcast.
We'll keep you in the loop on all tri-state news with the Yankees and Mets,
as well as the biggest headlines from around the MLB.
Catch weekly episodes of Nosebleeds on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Take a trip around the bases with Nosebleeds on WFUV Sports.
And welcome back in here to One-on-One. Brendan Shorey joined by Trey Rodriguez and our very own Mets beat reporter Joe Henry as well. Joe Henry taking a sit-in with us for this segment. We're going to talk about the Mets, but before we do that, we do have a giveaway, 2 Yankees tickets for the game on Thursday, June 19th versus the Angels. It's a 1 o'clock game. If you answer this trivia question correctly, then you get the tickets. The question of the day, Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani hit home runs in the same inning last night in the rematch of the World Series. When was the last time 2 reigning MVPs hit a home run in the same game? Call in and answer. The phone number is 718-817-2750. I repeat, 718-817-2750. Call in for your chance at those 2 Yankees tickets. But we're going to go back across town, down to Queens. Joe, you were at the game last night, 4-2 Mets victory. How was that?
Hey, man, I mean, I don't think it'll ever get old. It's always going to be fun. That's probably the first word I'd use to describe it. It maybe wasn't the most entertaining game of all time, but I think it was a get-right game for the Mets after that 9-4 loss to Chicago on Wednesday. They get the day off. David Peterson gives you another solid start, 5 2/3 innings, only gave up the 1 run. And then you hand it to the back of the bullpen, Reed Garrett and Edwin Diaz. I was talking about it last night. That might be the best 1-2 punch that any bullpen has in all of baseball. But I think most pertinently, what listeners probably want to know about is how are guys like Lindor and Soto doing. Both of them had struggled with the bat lately. Lindor ends up getting 3 knocks, including 2 home runs, and Soto gets a couple hits as well, and a really nice high-effort play in the field. Both of them looked refreshed in last night's game.
It's great to see those guys doing well because you mentioned it. They're not off to the I don't want to say the hottest start because Lindor had a pretty hot start this year. Soto did not, but Lindor kind of in a bit of a slump recently. And it's interesting because every time we talk about the Mets here, we talk about how coming into the season, their offense was supposed to be one of the best, and they had a pitching staff that was full of question marks and unknowns, and it's been the pitching that has been their strength. but their pitching has kind of taken a bit of a step back here in May. A fantastic start to the season. Only 5 home runs given up by the starters in April, and then in less games they gave up. I want to say when I saw it was about 16 home runs given up by the starters. So the starters taking a bit of a step back. Do you guys think that this starting pitching? Do you think that it's regressing back to kind of normalcy? Or do you think it's just a little blip in what this Mets rotation has been able to do this year?
Well, the media is always going to be focused on guys like Soto and Lindor, but I think if you're a Mets fan, more concern should be focused on this starting pitching group. I don't really worry about the bullpen. Not only are your top 2 guys having Garrett's having his best career season, Diaz looks just fine as well. You have some depth there. The starters are a little bit more of a question mark. Lindor and Soto, are going to get it going. Lindor already is having a pretty solid season by all metrics combined. Yes, his past 2 weeks before this game last night weren't great, but when you look at the starters, it's kind of the same story that it's been the past 2 years. Guys like David Peterson, guys like Tyler McGill, and Griffin Canning this year. Griffin Canning may have been the worst starting pitcher in baseball last year, have come up and delivered sub-3 ERAs, deep starts, gotten the bullpen some extra rest, and won a lot of games. The question mark is, and I question it, for guys like Canning, guys like McGill, guys like Peterson, can you sustain that for a full season? Can you perform like that in the postseason? I'm not sure. Does Kurt Sippel have something to say about that?
He does. We actually have someone calling in to answer the trivia question. Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you guys.
Do you have the answer for the trivia question?
I believe I have the answer for the trivia question.
Go ahead. What you got?
The last time I remember before that, there was a stat. I read about it, and I believe it is Barry Bonds and Miguel Tejada in 2002. I believe that.
That very close, actually. Correct, people. You were just 1 year off. That counts, though. I love that. Very nice. But yeah, you got it. Those 2 tickets, Thursday, June 19th, 1 o'clock game against the Angels. Those are all yours now.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for calling in.
That Angels get to watch Mike Trout's getting reinstated.
Yeah, he's
matchup.
coming back. That's going to be a fun one to watch. It is nice to see Trout kind of get back from that injury, but we'll bring it back to Queens here. And Jay, you were just talking about their starting pitching, and can they keep it up? Can they last and kind of replicate their success in the postseason? And it's interesting to see because you have a bunch of these guys who are having career years. They're having like some of the best years of their careers, and it's going to be interesting to see whether they can keep it up because they have so far. They've had strong starts. And you've had guys like McGill, even Griffin Canning, like some guys who kind of weren't expected to do a whole lot, who have come in and pitched well and kind of taken over on this pitching staff. I want to talk about the bats though as well. We talked about the pitching. We have to talk about the bats as well. And we've seen this Mets team obviously with their 1-2-3 punch at the top of the lineup with Lindor, Soto, Alonso, who they've switched it up a bit recently at the top, but that 1-2-3 is arguably the best 1-2-3 in baseball.
Yeah, the issue is that it's not been a 1-2-3. It's been a 1-2-3-4, and Pete might be nicknamed the Polar Bear, but the Polar Bear in Arlington, Texas has been Mark Vientos, who's been batting second most of these games and has been, from my eyes, dismal, not just in the batter's box, but also on the field. Had another should-have-been error last night. It was ruled a base hit. He did have a pretty solid play with the glove as well, ranging to his right.
Vientos been starting to heat up a little bit, though.
He did have a homer on Wednesday, but man, look at those ABs. It's tough for me to confidently say that he is a better batter than Brett Beatty, which theoretically is the reason why he's in the lineup over Brett Beatty on a night like last night. Yeah, and Beatty ended up subbing in at the end of that game for defense. I'm not sure if Kurt Sippel has a different take on Vientos because I'm not super high on him.
I have one pressing question, Joe. Did you get the Mets Hello Kitty bobblehead last night?
It's actually, I'm so glad you asked that because boy, do I have a bone to pick with you guys. So I walk into the game, media guy scans my credential. Love that guy. I would say his name, but I don't know it.
So who's the bad guy here, Joe? It sounds like you're the bad guy
I'm
here.
getting there. I'm actually not a bad guy. I put my backpack through, let it be known I'm making small talk all the way through. I'm really, developing in that area of my game as a reporter. The old small talk, getting the ins with the folks at the stadium. But one person who I had not had the pleasure of meeting was the guy who was handing out the Hello Kitty bobbleheads at last night's game, which I very much wanted to get. I have a friend who's a big Hello Kitty fan who has a birthday coming up. I would have loved to give her that. And Brendan, you have something to insert?
Did you go and ask for one?
You wouldn't believe the first 2 steps I took after getting my backpack from security were towards the massive pile of Hello Kitties, and I go and say, "Hey, by any chance, can I get a Hello Kitty?" Mind you, this guy was handing out to every media member, everyone who walked by. I was like, "Could I grab a Hello Kitty?" He said, "You need to have a ticket." I showed him my credential. This is kind of better than a ticket. And he's just like, and I walked away. And maybe that's where I need to grow and be a little bit more assertive and aggressive and say, no, I deserve this Hello Kitty. It means something to me. But no, I didn't get it. And then I thought, well, maybe I have it mistaken. Maybe he's not giving it to any media members. I go up to the press box. It is ordained with Hello Kitties in the personal possession of every Mets media member. I'm the only man in there, or woman, without a Hello Kitty. And I'm sorry, I just have a lot to get out today. Because that was a jarring emotional experience.
I would be
for me.
as upset as you are, Joe, if I did not get a Mets City Edition Hello Kitty bobblehead.
That man's lucky that I'm not good enough at small talk to ask his name, because I would say it right now, but I have no idea what it is.
I'm gonna be 100% honest here. I've been at 2 games where they were giveaways.
Yep, you get it.
The first was a little Mets coin purse. The second was a camo Sean Manaea jersey.
Oh, that's nice.
One of the best giveaways they had all season, other than the Clay Holmes hockey jersey.
Yeah,
which I got.
I got them both.
It's just ridiculous. I was there last year. I got an orange beanie, and then you give out a Hello Kitty bobblehead, and one of the first people there. I mean, mind you, I was 3 hours early, and you can't afford me a Hello Kitty.
And let me say this too.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get them down when I walked in. They brought them around in the press box.
Ridiculous.
They brought them around and handed them out in the press box. They came and hand-delivered me my Sean Manaea jersey, which is sitting. It's actually sitting in my backpack in there, Kurt.
I'm really happy for you.
We should show it off for the show, so Joe doesn't get too jealous about the Hello Kitty bobblehead.
I mean, less jealous.
Sure, that guy's had it out for you, man.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
The white backpack, Brogan.
I swear, I didn't.
It is down by Kurt's feet, but my camo Sean Manaea jersey is still in there. But yes, they hand-delivered that to every member of the press up in the press box.
I'm really happy.
Which is
for
why
you.
I'm kind of shocked that
apparently they exhausted their supply of Hello Kitties. That's great. Still in the bag. He's not even wearing it. It's ridiculous.
On bag.
If I can figure out how to open this thing.
Why don't you throw that on?
It's your new haul.
You gotta throw that on.
Throw it on.
This is awesome.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Sean Manaea, we were talking about the pitching staff when he comes back, man. The Mets pitching staff is all up from there when Sean Manaea comes back, man.
No doubt, and I guess to keep the conversation going, well, Brendan tries on this jersey, and I'm not even going to look at him as he does it. A question for you, Kurt, I would ask, when Manaea comes back, who's the odd man out in the rotation?
Joe, this is a difficult question right now.
Looking nice.
This is a sick jersey.
Yeah,
so
you look great, Brendan.
Wouldn't it be nice if they had a Hello Kitty bobblehead to go right with it?
Oh, that would be so nice.
That would be so sick. Well, Joe, this is a difficult question right now for the Mets, like rotation-wise, because you have so many guys right now that are, I would say, have been awesome. I think that they've really stood out to the point where I don't know who you take out in the starting lineup at the moment. Like, you're not going to take out Clay Holmes because Clay Holmes has been great.
No. Him and Senga.
I think you take out Griffin Canning.
Interesting.
Really? Is it Canning or...
Because Canning got off to an electric start, and he's been the past
That's
few
what I'm
starts.
saying. But I don't want to go too quickly here. You know what I mean?
But he is the guy who's been in the majors a lot longer than McGill.
Canning, I was going to say either McGill or Canning, because those are the odd men's out right there.
I think Peterson's got to stay.
Peterson stays,
and
Senga stays, Holmes stays.
Well, I think it might be, if I had to say in my heart of hearts, it might be McGill, but I fear that it's probably Canning.
Who's to say you couldn't go with a 6-man rotation?
You can.
You could. There's actually been teams that have been starting to do that recently.
The Mets have been really good with their bullpen right now. That is one of the best in the major leagues.
Well, right now.
Keep it fresh.
Their batting's kind of
so
Think about it this way too. You take out, say, either McGill or Canning, and you throw him in the pen as that long inning kind of guy.
He can go for a while. He has done it many times. He can go 6 or 7 innings. So I don't know who's the odd man out. The one thing I do want to get back to just quickly is just the plague at third base at the moment that you have either Brett Beatty, and then you also have to figure out where everyone else is going to go, because you also have to have when – oh, my God, I'm blanking on Jesse Winker's name at the moment. I don't know why I just forgot about Jesse Winker. But when Jesse Winker comes back, that's also going to be some trouble for the Mets as well, is where are you going to put everyone? And my thought at the moment is – we talked about it last week on One-on-One. I think it's time for Mark Vientos to go to AAA.
I don't
hate that.
That's an outrageous take right now.
I don't
What?
hate that.
What do you, Joe?
I said I don't think. I just said I
Oh, I
don't
thought you
think
said it was an outrageous take. I was about to be like,
No.
Mark Vientos has been mid.
I like
No,
Beatty over
worse
him
than
right
mid.
now.
Oh,
I think
Beatty's
everyone
been
likes
better
Beatty
on
over him.
both sides of the ball. He's been better.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy to say after seeing how he performed early in the season.
Man, we were on the Mets season preview debating if Vientos was a top 5 third baseman in baseball.
He is awful from third base. He's a horrendous defensive
We're,
third
having
baseman.
trouble listing like Austin Riley, Rafael Devers, Jose Ramirez, Mark Vientos.
Mark Vientos is up there, yeah.
I have Mark
yeah.
Vientos on my fantasy team, and I have trouble starting him.
Trade him.
Cut
him.
He's got to
Who's
go.
Who wants him?
Cut him.
Hey,
Cutting him was a bad idea.
Kurt, I sent you an offer the other day. And
Joe, your offer was bad.
No, what was
Joe,
the
and I
offer?
dropped one of the guys
What was
who
the
wanted to
offer?
trade.
What was the offer?
Now let us hear the
What was the
offer.
offer?
Let's hear the offer. All right. From Joe's scary team, I
Great
got
name,
the
by the way.
offer for
That's
Clay
that's
Holmes
tough.
and Brandon Nimmo.
Guys that you probably like a lot.
Yeah, but I don't need them. I don't need Clay Holmes at the moment, and I really don't need Brandon Nimmo. I have enough outfield
4-game
depth.
hit streak.
Wonderful.
Four.
Great.
him.
Great. Tell me on my team who can start over him, because I don't know who. And
help you.
then you gave me Duran and Bibby. I dropped Bibby yesterday. Bibby. Sorry, my bad.
Jaron Duran?
Yes.
No, not Jaron Duran.
Is
I
it
have
not?
J-
Wait,
it's,
no, it's
Joe and Duran.
yeah.
Okay.
So that trade is just really mid on both sides, Joe.
Just for Vientos?
So pretty much I get a reliever who's underperformed that is really good, and then I would trade him back 2 Mets guys, including Clay Holmes, who's been a rock at the top of the Mets rotation, and Brandon Nimmo, who could be a utility
My
guy for
pitching rotation at the moment is Hunter Brown, Mitch Keller, which it starts to get a little bad when you get Jesus Lazard. I can never pronounce his last
You
name.
can say Jacob deGrom's name up there, too.
Well, Screwball, Strider, Diaz, Duran, and then you got DeGrom and Seth Lugo. Those are I'm just reading off relief and
Okay.
starters. I don't think I need another starting pitcher at the moment, Joe.
Well, you'd be giving me one back in Tanner Bybee.
Well, you can go get him on waivers, buddy. But back to it with the Mets. I just think in general, something has to be figured out in that hole in third base because you're getting Winker back. Winker's coming back sooner than later. And he's a guy that is electric. And he's going to probably be, if he's not starting in the field, he's going to be the DH.
Do you love Winker in the lineup every day
Electric
like that?
is definitely a word I'd say. Like
Hey Joe,
maybe,
I
maybe
remember
like a moderate
I was
electric
watching
current.
I was watching him during the playoffs last year and live in person hitting home runs a lot. Really electric when the bat was firing. I think Jesse Winker's electric.
I
His
don't know if- I don't-
personality is electric. What he does is electric.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know if he
use him
gets a
as-
Caleb Stein electric.
No,
from
I don't
me,
think he does.
But
Use
he's
him-
definitely good enough to be the DH.
I think that's what. But I don't think Vientos is the DH.
Right.
of
And then
the-
where do you
the
put
t-
Vientos?
I can
Don't
tell you where
play
you
him
put
on-
him,
on
and
the
he goes
far
to
left
Syracuse.
side of the bench. Far left
he
side of
goes.
the bench.
He's going back to Syracuse, buddy.
I don't.
That's because that's the thing. If you have Marte and Winker taking over at DH over Vientos if he continues to slump. Do you put Vientos at third? Well, he's a worse fielder than Brett Beatty. He's actually been hitting worse than Brett Beatty of late. Do you put him at third and then move Beatty to second? Well, if you put Beatty at second, then guys like Jeff McNeil and Luis Daniel Acuna are losing reps. So what do you do? The odd man out for me on offense and defense, it's been Mark Vientos.
He's the only one, and you don't get rid of Luis Angel Acuna because he's one, the fastest guy on the entire roster. 2, I feel like he's one of the hardest working guys on the entire Mets roster. You see him doing everything he can to be improved every single week, doing exactly what he needs to be better. I think he deserves the spot, if you get what I mean. I think that
wouldn't
it's
be
definitely
shocked
deserved.
if he goes down.
I don't love it
Acuna?
if he goes
Acuna,
down.
yeah.
I would hate that if he goes down.
I would hate that if he went down.
Yeah, I feel
too.
similarly, but I'm just saying that there's a chance that he would be
It would
the
be a-
guy who
You can
goes
see a
instead of
possibility.
Vientos.
It would be a mistake for the Mets organization to
having a-
bring down Luis Angel Acuna instead of Mark Vientos.
Acuna is a guy who can come in every other day, give you good defense, and if he's not starting, he could come off the bench and be a pinch runner for you, one of the best pinch runners in baseball. He's a very valuable guy. I don't think Mark Vientos gives you either of those things if you were to keep him but have him mostly on the bench.
You know something with Acuna, though, right? This is like a stat that, like, I can't believe.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the few MLB players that hasn't even barreled a baseball yet. This whole
Are
entire
you following
season.
that on Instagram?
Yeah.
This guy's doing a segment
that's-
every day.
that's
He checks
insane,
in
though.
on who hasn't hit a barrel yet in baseball. They're down like 4 guys, and Acuna's one of them. Part of it's a refs thing. He had some good hits, or didn't get on base last night, but he had some good contact. He had a warning track shot. So, I like what I see from him. Is he a guy that you want to start 3 out of 4 days? Probably not, but I think he can provide a lot for you off the bench.
I think he could be a very, very solid every other game kind of player. Whether you put him at second, I guess that's really all you could do. But you could throw McNeil out in the outfield.
Yep.
You could, or using him off the bench, pinch running. I mean, who else are you gonna use off this Mets roster as that has any speed? And Kurt's picking his headphones back up.
I'd like to
It's,
hear
but
who.
it's my only point.
I
is
guess
that
Beatty,
he's the only guy.
the other guy.
He's not faster.
He's not faster.
He's not faster.
He's not faster, but he's
Tyrone
the only
Taylor
other.
if he's not starting, but I actually really like Tyrone Taylor in center.
I do too.
I like him in the field so much more. I just think at this point is all roads are pointing to Mark Vientos on the long bus ride back to Syracuse. I don't know if they have an airport there, so I think it might be a bus ride.
Definitely an airport.
It's
Syracuse,
even
no
more
way.
demoralizing.
You can take that seat right next to the bus driver on his way all the way up. That's going to do it from here with our Mets segment. And we are going to be right back from this break talking Yankees. Stay tuned for that.
Hey, this is Chris Carino, Fordham and WFUV class of 1992. WFUV is your home for all things Fordham athletics, with live coverage of Fordham football, Fordham men's and women's basketball, in addition to our Saturday show, One-on-One. Stay right here on 90.7 FM for all things WFUV Sports.
And welcome back into One-on-One. Brendan Shorey here with Trey Rodriguez, here to talk about the New York Yankees, the Bronx Bombers. Before we get into that, please call in, guys, if you want something to say, if you want to agree, disagree, have a question, have a comment, whatever you want to do. 718-817-2750. I repeat, 718-817-2750. We would love to hear from you. But let's get into it. The Bronx Bombers World Series matchup right now against the Dodgers. They dropped game 1. This one's actually, it's in LA. Dropped game 1 yesterday, 8-5. Game 2 of the series is tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. And game 3 tomorrow, also at 7 p.m. Eastern. A big series for the Yankees. Coming off a couple of series against, you could call them questionable teams. The Angels, the Rockies. I hate throwing my Rangers in there, but they do not have a good offense right now.
Gotta be honest sometimes.
So coming off of those 3 series, going into LA and taking on the Dodgers, drop game 1. And I want to hammer home kind of that despite the loss last night, they're kind of getting the job done however it takes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, right? Both their hitting has been great with the Yankees, right? And for a little while, they had that little bit of a rough stretch. But also, I mean, their pitching has been great too. Honestly, the whole entire team is just playing very well right now. Like, there's not really much of a weak spot on the team. You look at it, I'd say with the weak links, you have 2 players really. Got Austin Wells, who is barely even a weak link, right? On hitting wise, at least. he's in the 99th percentile in catcher framing runs. He's amazing at just getting to make the wrong call. And also, too, his WRC plus is a 99. So he is literally he's just playing just below average. And that is their weakest guy on the team right now, basically. And he had a home run last night, too. So, good. So good for him. And then Ian Hamilton as well. I believe are like the two kind of weak links for the guys for the Yankees.
You mentioned pitching good, hitting good, and I want to bring it back because when you think of this year's Yankees, a lot of people are going to think about that second game of the season, back-to-back home runs on the first 3 pitches of the game against Nestor Cortes, hitting 9 total home runs in that game. Just a massive display of offense, of power. That was when the torpedo bats finally made their emergence. A lot of people are going to think about that game when you mentioned the Yankees and how strong their offense is, and you see guys like Goldschmidt having a year that maybe makes you think that it's 2016. It makes you think he's not around 40 years old. Aaron Judge coming out, highest batting average in the league, the most home runs in the AL, having you think his MVP season, his 62 home run MVP season was good. Watch this season.
Yeah, this is incredible from him.
He's getting on base almost 50% of the time.
Yeah.
But you have these big names on this offense. You're like, okay, so they should be scoring 15 runs, 10 runs like every game, right?
And
sometimes it's not the case, but then that's when the pitching steps up.
Yep.
You have Max Fried, who has looked like the second best pitcher in the AL. I'm taking Tarek Skubal. Max Fried has looked like the second best pitcher in the AL. Carlos Rodon has emerged after a couple of, I wouldn't even say poor, but not as great starts at the beginning of the year, and has been pitching really well as of recent. This is the Carlos Rodon that the Yankees were hoping to sign that hadn't shown up for the past couple of years. But you take it back to that Yankees-Rangers series, and I do that because I went to all 3 games as a Rangers fan living in New York right now. 5-2 win for the Yankees, 4-3 win for the Yankees, 1-0 win for the Yankees. So not exactly offensive explosions.
Just playing great pitching and by them, great defense as well. It's just it's just when you have something where you can actually rely when you have those bad hitting days, and you can rely on your pitchers to get the job done for you. I think it's a very good spot to be in, because obviously you're not gonna have those great hitting days every single day. Aaron, as awesome as Aaron Judge has been playing, and Paul Goldschmidt too, he's actually the best against left-handed pitchers in the league right now. He's over 500 on that. That's kind of phenomenal.
That is insane.
With a left-hand, if I love left-handed pitcher, I'd be scared to go against that guy right now. But it's very good that you're able to rely on both sides of the ball, because I feel like a lot of teams are missing that, where they might be definitely more skewed towards an offensive side than a pitching side or something. But when you're able to rely on your pitchers and on your bullpen to actually just, when you're having an off night, carry a game out for you, I think that's a good spot to be in. But when you're going against teams such as the Dodgers right now, both sides of the ball need to be on point, and you need to really be ready to play that day.
Yeah, I mean, every team has those days where the offense is unable to do anything, or the pitching is unable to do anything. But you just said, I think you said it perfectly. When you're playing a team of the Dodgers caliber and how many stars they have, both in that rotation that you may see, in that bullpen that you may see, and in that lineup 1 through 9, you have to have both phases of the game, I wouldn't say perfect, but pretty near perfect. You need to be hitting very well. You need to be pitching. And listen, I mean, the bats were awake. They still put up 5 runs.
Right.
They gave up 8. You're not going to win any games giving up 8 runs. No. Not in today's MLB. But you need both aspects to work together, especially tonight and tomorrow against the Dodgers, if you want a chance at taking not just one of these games, but trying and going and getting the series.
Right, and you want that. You need that confidence booster, because as we said, it's a World Series rematch. You want to be able to show right now that you can actually win against them. When sure, it might not obviously does not matter as much as a World Series, but you want to be able to have that confidence booster going into the playoffs when inevitably both teams are very likely to actually make that World Series spot, and to be able to say that you beat them in the regular season in that series for the first matchup, that's just a great thing. That's a great thing to go after,
It's great to be able to go into a series against a good team, and if you could take that series, it is huge, and especially with you when you look at their upcoming schedule. They have 2 more against the Dodgers. Then they're back home. The Guardians are in town. And then the Red Sox are in town, which regardless of how good the Yankees and the Red Sox are, that one is always a good series. Right. And then they go back on the road for the Royals and the Red Sox again. So obviously not the most challenging schedule, but it's not easy. Mm-hmm. You play a lot of good teams coming up, so the more series you can get, the better it is. And I get the Dodgers are with air quotes the best team in the league,
on paper,
in the
absolutely.
MLB, in the NL, whatever you want to say. On paper, sure, but it doesn't matter what's on paper when you're out there during the game. It's any day, anything can happen. So if you're able to come out and play both sides, and if you could steal this series from the Dodgers and take games 2 and 3, that would be huge for them.
Yes, absolutely. And with those upcoming games that you said too, to have that huge boost of confidence going against the best team on paper in the league, right? It's big for them. Red Sox have been playing that well recently, but at the end of the day, as you said, it is still that rivalry where it just seems like every series always ends up being great. Always ends up being great with them. So to have that confidence boost of beating the best team, of beating one of the best teams in the league at least, it's big for them. And you can't allow what happened last night. The pitching can't allow that to happen again, right? You can't have Shohei, even though Shohei kind of just does what he wants. So you have to limit that. You have to limit that from happening. 2 home runs that can't happen next time. That can't happen next time from him. A lot of guys getting on base yesterday, really, for the Dodgers. Just basically just getting hits all over. Everyone was getting their own piece of like their own share of hitting. That can't happen next time. And as you said earlier, Yankees did their job offensively. Now the pitching needs to do their job. When you go against those good teams like that, both sides need to do their job on the ball, and that pitching needs to step up.
Here's where you luck out if you're the Yankees, though, is you're catching the Dodgers at the right time in your timeline. The Dodgers very injured right now, both starting pitching, bullpen, even some guys that could play pretty consistently in that lineup. You're catching them at a time when they're very injured. So for the Yankees, that's great for you. It makes it, I don't want to say easier, but I guess a little less. I don't think intimidating is the right word either, but it gives you a little more kind of confidence that you can go in and get the job done. They're great on paper, yeah. Right now, not quite as good. I want to shift this a little bit because the Yankees they're sitting at first in the AL East. And I was on an episode of Nosebleeds with Chris Carino and Peter Brito, and we asked around who is the biggest threat to the Yankees, and Chris Carino came and he said, right now it's the Orioles, which was got posted to the FUV socials. It was on TikTok. A lot of people not happy with that answer. Obviously, Kurt's gonna play that for us. Actually,
who is the one team out of those 3 that you think could kind of go head and shoulders above the rest and really contend in that division alongside the Yankees? The Orioles are the team to make the jump. I think the Red Sox still very much are the team that are in waiting. I don't like Brendan's face at all. Brendan, they've had a very bad start. Just in general, things are really poor there. But Brendan, you look at the roster, Toronto and Boston cannot compete with that roster.
Look at what they did this last offseason, and it seems like they're trying to find a way to win without paying anyone. Like you look at the pitching rotation when they had Corbin Burns, who was their ace last year, and a big reason why they were able to make a postseason run. And then they let him go and decide to try and moneyball the league and go get 3 old guys for the same price, which
So you heard Chris Carino say the Orioles are the biggest threat. I go on to say I think it's the Red Sox are the biggest threat to the Yankees, and I want to include you in this too, Trey. On who do you think is the biggest threat currently to the Yankees? And we'll start in the division, and then we'll kind of expand, and afterwards I'll ask who kind of out of the AL has the best chance of taking the Yankees down in the playoffs. But first we'll start in the division. Which of those teams, if any, do you think actually have a chance at knocking the Yankees out? Not out of the playoffs, obviously, but just taking the division.
Yeah, well, I definitely don't think it's the Red Sox or the Orioles, especially not the Orioles. That's an insane take right there. But when you look at it, Yankees are like 6 games ahead of both the Rays and the Blue Jays, who are both fighting up there for this spot. You gave me the option to say that you gave me the option to say that I might not think that any team could take over the Yankees right now, and honestly, I'm going to take that option. I think that the Yankees they're playing great. They are 6 games ahead right now. Obviously, at this point in the season, that's not a huge deal. If it was later, yeah, sure, but I think right now the Yankees are looking pretty safe up there, up top, and I don't really think any team's going to knock them down exactly in the AL East. Now if you were to go outside the AL East and look at the red hot Tigers, right? They're ahead. Tigers are ahead of the Yankees. I don't know if the Tigers will be able to maintain that pace. But right now, young team, everything just seems to be clicking for them, for the Tigers. I do think that the Yankees might not be able to get past them if they keep this pace of play up, the Tigers. But it's a very hard ask for them to do.
I'm also very high on the Tigers. I already mentioned Tarek Skubal's name. I think he's the best pitcher in the American League. I'm going to have to agree with you on that. Obviously, we have my Red Sox. Not my Red Sox. What do you say? I don't claim the Red Sox as a fan.
Just claim the Red Sox, Brendan Shore. You guys heard it here first.
No,
Brendan Shore
I do
is
not.
a Red Sox fan, no longer a Texas Rangers fan.
I am a Rangers fan. My take in the Red Sox taking over the Yankees. You guys have heard that.
Caleb Stein has really affected you, man. I don't like you've abandoned the
I'm
Rangers.
not a Red Sox fan.
Then you became a
I am not a Red Sox fan. I am not a Red Sox fan. My take that the Red Sox could be the team to overtake. I agree. The Tigers, I think, in the AL are the team right now to beat. That is going to do it for us talking about the Yankees. We are done talking about New York baseball. On the other side of this break, we're going to kind of expand, zoom out, look at the MLB as a whole. Stay tuned for that.
Hi, my name is Ryan Rucco, WFUV class of 2008. WFUV is your home for all things Fordham athletics, with live coverage of Fordham football, Fordham men's and women's basketball, in addition to our Saturday show, One on One. Stay right here on 90.7 FM for all things WFUV Sports.
Welcome back to One on One. Brendan Shorey here with Trey Rodriguez. We're going to talk about the MLB as a whole, some storylines in the MLB right now. Before we do that, we want you guys to call in. We would love to hear what you have to say. That phone number is 718-817-2750. I repeat, 718-817-2750. Call in. We would love to talk to you guys. Now let's dive in. General MLB, and I wanna start. We just mentioned it when we were talking about the Yankees and who could beat them in the AL, and the Tigers came up and their success to start the season, I want to say it was their best 50-game start to a season in a long time, if not ever. At the top of their division, Tarek Skubal making a very strong case for a back-to-back Cy Young campaign. What have you seen from the Tigers this year that has made them so good?
Right. So as I said before, it's a very young bunch, but what's been good is that it's a bunch of young players who in the past were disappointing the past few years. And now everything's starting to all just click for all these players, right? So they have the best record, best record in MLB right now. Skubal is on track to win a back-to-back Cy Young, 5-2 record, 2.49 ERA. He's playing great this season. He's played great last season. He's just playing very consistently. But then you got guys like Javier Baez, right? Who's one of the worst hitters of the last few years. He's finally starting to actually hit well now.
We've all seen those videos.
And it's
slider 3 feet out of the zone in the dirt, and Javi swings.
But he's no longer doing that. It's starting to he's starting to get comfortable. Gleyber Torres from all the Yankees having a great year as well. And also something else I think is another player is very important to mention here. Spencer Torkelson. First overall pick in 2020, and he's finally starting to shape up, and he's looking like a first-round pick now. And you see, it's just guys like this who things are finally starting to click with them. We all know baseball takes a while for players to develop, and it kind of seems like they're finally reaching that step now where they're getting comfortable in the league. And I just think I think that really, it's not really a matter of it was a process that they had to go through, and it's just finally starting to happen now. The process is starting to come full circle.
I will say you shouted out the guys I wanted to shout out to, the Javi Baez reemergence, the Gleyber Torres kind of where did this come from? I also want to shout out that this guy who really flies under the radar, highest WAR on the team, batting over 300. That's the catcher, Dylan Dingler. Yes, that's his name. 1.7 WAR to this point. He's just ahead of Zach McKinstry and Spencer Torkelson in terms of that stat. But you just kind of take a look at this lineup going 1 through 9, and all these guys have. You could argue they kind of emerged last year. And this Tigers team was solid last year. But then you could also argue they were just starting to emerge last year, and now they're actually playing. I wouldn't even say to their full capacity. I don't think a lot of these guys have even hit their ceiling.
Definitely not.
But you look at the lineup 1 through 9 that could go every day, and it's not necessarily that they're the best hitting bunch in the league, but they're very good at the timely hits, at hitting when there's runners on, runners to score in position, getting those runs across, and they have the pitching staff to back it up. And we mentioned Tarek Skubal, who has been just so good, but Casey Mize as that 2 has been just as good. I mean, argue Jack Flaherty is the 2. Casey Mize, ERA sitting under 3, not getting a whole lot of recognition for what he's been doing, but you look at, again, pitching rotation 1 through 5. Reese Olson, shout him out too. ERA under 3 as well. So the starting pitching from this Tigers team that up with kind of how that offense has been performing. And looking back, you could say, with these stats, I'm not super surprised, but you can't really say you weren't surprised coming into the season.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, it is development, but when you see the path that these guys have been on, it's just been that the Tigers young guys, they're starting to take shape now, and it's nothing to be too surprised about, because they got some new guys like Torres, and they're playing well, and they're playing well for them. But what I think's impressive is the thing that you mentioned as well, right? Is that they're getting the timely hits. And when you have a group of young guys that really just not much experience, and they're actually getting the hits that matter, and they're getting the hits that win games, and also with their pitching, right? They're pitching during important times as well, and they're able to just pull through and do something that a lot of young groups can't do. We talk about this in every sport basically, where you have teams that are full of talents, a bunch of young talent, but the main thing is that they just don't know how to piece it together, right? What's impressive with the Tigers is that full of young talent, and they're actually able to piece it together. And when you got guys like Javier Baez, who's having kind of a career resurgence now, and also you got Spencer Torkelson finally starting to pick it up, and also Riley Green as well. He's been having a good season as well. So you have all these guys out here that are just really starting to take shape, show that they belong in the pros. Obviously, they've been playing fine, and honestly, at this rate, if they keep on going, just over about 60 games in the season, they keep on going at this rate, they're gonna be a very scary team.
Yeah, and we mentioned the timely hitting, and I want to kind of take you down a little list. Runners in scoring position and 2 outs. These are just guys hitting over, we'll go 300. Spencer Torkelson, Dylan Dingler, Javi Baez, Colt Keith, Justin Henry Malloy, Andy Ibanez, Jace Young, Manuel Margot, Thomas Nito, Matt Vierling. Those are all over 300, with a handful of them up in the 350 to 400 range.
Incredible.
So while some of these guys may not have necessarily the average that you would like from a starter if they're batting, say, in the 220s, 230s, but then they're able to come out, and when it really matters, they're getting those base hits, they're getting those clutch hits. That's what really makes a team. You don't need 9 guys batting over 300 if none of their hits come when there are runners on or runners in scoring position. If they go one hidden inning, like, that doesn't do you any good. But I'd rather have someone who, say, is batting 220, but in situations with a runner on second, in situations with a runner on third, is hitting 400. That's just it's winning baseball.
Yeah, it's just great, and it's just great situational baseball. Where you have times where you don't need to be hitting not everyone needs to be hitting all the time, right? But when it really matters, when you can get those big chunks of points at one time, the fact that everyone's just hitting so well, and then going back, I know I keep on hammering on this with the young age, right? It's just impressive that at such a young age, these guys are playing very good situational baseball, and they're not letting that moment of, wow, there's about 2 guys on base right now, I can get 3 points, but let's say there's 2 outs or something, right? They're not letting that moment get to them, and they're actually pulling through and being clutch. And I think it really shows something for the future of the team, when they did great last year too in the playoffs of it, right? And now this time out going into this season, they're finally getting that clutch factor that they need, and it's showing that, sure, we're a while away from the playoffs, but you like to think that if this keeps on happening, they might be able to get past that hump that they reached last year.
And we talked about they are a very young team, great hitting, great pitching. We talked about Tarek Skubal. I want to flip to an ace on the other side of the league, in the National League. I want to talk about Paul Skeens here, and a lot of rumors about Skeens recently, whether the Pirates should trade him right now, whether they should hold on to him. Kind of people on both sides of this, some saying go get 4 farm players that are going to be great, and they are going to be great, and you're going to have a great team in 3 years. Some are saying, why would you trade him? He's young. He's a generational talent. He's your ace for the next 10 years. And so I want to kind of take a look at that. And first off, I'll start with this, is do you think there is any reason to trade Skeens? Do you think the Pirates should? Do you think they shouldn't? Where's your head at on this?
It's a tricky spot because the Pirates, they're one of the worst teams in baseball, and it's pretty fair to say that they're not going to be a contender within 4 to 5 years, which is when Skeens' contract will be up by then, right? And because they're a small market team, honestly, he could be the highest paid pitcher ever when his contract comes around. He's phenomenal. he truly is a generational player. And with Skeens, the Pirates are just not in a great financial spot right now, and they likely won't be able to afford him. So, if you want to trade him right now, you could get when his his trade stock is at its highest ever. Like, I mean, who knows? This could be if they were to trade him, this could be one of the biggest hauls any team can ever get.
You know, we were talking about a team that needed some starting depth at the moment, and a team that might have some cool pieces in the farm system at the moment that could trade for Paul Skeens, and I think that might be the New York Mets.
The Mets?
I don't hate that.
Paul Skeens to the New York Mets, and you cement the World Series for the next 6 years. You just lock that up.
Okay,
The Mets are just going to be World Series
Okay,
champs.
Kurt, let me ask you this. Who are you giving up for Skeens?
Well, Well, there's a few guys in the farm system at the moment that have been doing really well that you probably get rid of. There is some pitching depth. I'm not sure of all of their names, but I know I've heard a lot about them. That might be the people that have to go at this point.
I think Acuna goes too.
You think Acuna goes with him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see Vientos being in that too.
I was going to say Vientos. I think Mark Vientos is probably the first guy that goes in that. I think Mark Vientos is the first guy that the Mets are like, all right, yeah, you can have Mark Vientos.
The first guy the Mets give up
is Mark Vientos.
The first guy the Pirates want is not Mark Vientos.
No, I think Luis Angel Acuna is probably the first guy.
I think they go Acuna or Beatty. I think honestly, I can see a package centered around those two.
The Pirates.
You know, would be really. You know, it would be really sad that those young three would probably be the ones to all go, and it would be like that Mets run last year would be the finally like dead because those were the guys that led it. If you think about it like that.
Yeah, well, no need to dampen the mood, Kurt.
Just saying. Just saying. But if the Mets got Paul Skeens, I'm okay with them wearing the blue and orange. I'm not mad at it.
I got my team that I think could potentially take them up. And this sounds crazy. And I can't believe I'm even saying this. The Dodgers.
No way.
They have a very good farm system, right? And none of those farm system players can come up. None of them can of them can come up to actually play in the league because the Dodgers are so good. Like I was going to say earlier, the Pirates, they need a bunch of young players right now. This team's going to be garbage for the next few years.
No way the Pirates gives the Dodgers Skeens.
It could happen. They have so many good farm players.
And what's the Dodgers farm system? They got people left?
But no one's coming up.
Give them Outman and Bobby Miller.
And then you get Paul Skeens to the Dodgers. Okay, so when I said that the Mets lock up the World Series for the next 6 years, yeah, give him to. Actually, I don't.
I have my team.
I see it happening because the Dodgers have had such bad pitching depth at the moment.
Look at you. You're
no, Trey. No, Trey.
Crazy change up right there, Kurt. Crazy change up.
Because I don't like the amount in my head that I would rather like stop watching baseball if Paul Skeens went. It's like. Imagine if it was like Juan Soto and Paul Skeens both went to the Dodgers at that point. It's like, what is ending here? You know what I mean?
It's a monopoly.
It's like there's nothing. Call in the antitrust suits because that's all it feels like. It's like this is ridiculous, and they could just pay whoever they want 50 years down the line when they're going to sell the ballpark and then disband the team because they won those World Series back in the day because they can't afford it anymore.
They won 12 in a row.
Yeah, that's it. I want to hear your take, Brendan, for which team you think.
I think if the Pirates go through with this, I think the Red Sox are perfect. I think they have the depth for it. 100% they have the players to give up. I think you give up a combination of two of the three of Marcelo Meyer, Christian Campbell, and Roman Anthony. You give up two of them, and then if that's not enough for the Pirates, you throw Wilyer Abreu in there. And you have a really good trade package. And then you have Crochet, Skeens, Bueller, 1, 2, 3 in Boston. And I love that rotation.
I do like it. I don't think that's a ridiculous take.
I don't know if the Pirates will go through with any trade.
I don't think they will.
They may have come out and said, no, yeah, whatever. The rumors are there, obviously. I don't think they will actually end up trading him. But it's fun to think about this kind of stuff.
It is.
It's fun to think about who could trade for him.
Who doesn't want to see a superstar
what that
anymore?
roster could look like. I have a friend who actually, semi-roommate, lives floor below me. Massive Red Sox fan. He was actually kind of the one that put me onto this trade idea. the other day. He's also a massive Paul Skeens fan, so he would go crazy for that. I want to shift one more time. Talk about, we just had Memorial Day, and Trey, are there any teams in the league that you think have either overperformed and are going to regress, or vice versa?
Well, kind of funny enough that I've been so high on them this whole entire segment, and now I'm going to say that they have time and overperforming a bit. I think the Tigers have been overperforming a slight bit. Because the fact that they're such a young team, I don't think that they'll be able to keep this up consistently throughout the whole season, and I do think they're going to fall back down to earth, but they are still going to remain a very good team, and I don't think there's any doubt about that. Now, I think that this gap between, even though it's not a big gap right now, I do think the Yankees have a chance at definitely overtaking them, but the Tigers, as of right now, I think playing a bit over their heads, they're going to fall back down, but they are still going to be really, really good.
And Bobby C joining us. He's doing his Indy in 60 in just a minute. Bobby, do you have a take on this question?
I wanted just to say, that the best part of being the boss is you can just kind of walk in on anybody at any time and kind of interrupt them. So, that's a big part, coming in here and, kind of stealing some of your thunder here at the end of the show. That's kind of what my goal was. In terms of takes, no. I mean, I think the Yankees, that's a terrible loss for them. Very mad at them from last night. But, listen, they went in there. They did their thing early in the game. You don't expect Max Fried to have a bad performance. He's been so good for them. I mean, the Dodgers are going to be the test that they have to get over. I think the Yankees right now have shown that they are the team to beat in the American League, even if there are other contenders, right? And Detroit, like you said, has done a great job. But I would expect them to be back in the World Series and would not be surprised if it's a rematch against the Dodgers. Then you just got to see how they play this year.
Yeah, fairly said. I'm going to give my take real quick before we head to break. I think that the Mets, and I hate to say it, but I think the Mets have been overperforming a little bit, and I think it's really the pitching staff that has early in the year. I think they take a step back and kind of sink not towards the league average. I think they will still be a great team. I think the offense will take a step up, but I think that the Mets started out very hot, and I think we've started to see that as well with them kind of falling in the division, the Phillies taking the division lead there. That is going to be
I mean, those are two teams that could make the World Series.
Oh, they're two great teams over in the NL. The Phillies were actually my pick to win the division at the beginning of the year. Before the season, Kurt, I see you throwing your hands up back there.
Bryce Harper's got to be healthy, though.
Yes. He needs to, that whole debacle, did they throw at him, did they not? Harper is going to be the key to that Phillies team.
Yeah, I agree. Only thing I would say with that is I don't think, with that pitcher on the mound, I don't think he's throwing at Harper.
No.
And maybe trying to go up and in, but not with the expectation to.
Especially so early in the game.
Yeah, Strider's a really good pitcher.
Yeah.
So
that is unfortunately going to do it for us here with our baseball segment. We're going to take a break. We're going to hear from Bobby with his Indy in 60. And when we come back, we are going to shift over to the tennis court and talk about the French Open. Stay tuned for that.
You're listening to WFUV, New York.
How about winning the greatest spectacle in racing for your first ever win on an oval? Three-time IndyCar Series champion Alex Palou captured the biggest oval of them all at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the 109th running of the Indy 500. Palou won under caution when 500 rookie Nolan Siegel crashed out in turn 2 on the final lap of the 200-lap race. Palou passed Andretti's Marcus Ericsson on lap 187 and never trailed thereafter. Here's the elated Chip Ganassi star on a first oval win he'll never forget.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just makes it extra special. I think I would have been as happy as I'm right now, but yeah, I mean, to say that I've only won one oval race and it's been at the Speedway, that's always going to be like that.
No sleep for the IndyCar Series. They are in Detroit this weekend as they take to the streets for the GP on Sunday. Palou has won 5 of 6 IndyCar races to start the season. I'm Bobby C. for Indy in 60. Brendan, one thing I'll tell you about Alex Palou, he might be a terrific IndyCar driver. He's not very good at throwing a baseball. That would be a pitcher that you would not want to sign for the New York Mets. He was in town here in New York right after he won the 500 just a couple days ago throughout the first pitch, and he admitted himself it really wasn't a very good one. It wasn't like 50 Cent bad, but it was pretty bad.
Okay, I was getting worried there.
You know?
It was going to be one of the worst of all time,
but he won a couple $1 million for racing a car around IMS, so I think he's okay.
He's doing all right.
He's doing all right. And I will say this too, because I know you guys were asking me about just being there at the 500. You know how much I have love for that place, that race. But also this year getting a chance to be at Game 3 for Pacers-Knicks. And if the Knicks do come back and win this series in 7, I want every Knicks fan to call me and say, thank you, Bobby. Thank you. Because the first win of the playoffs in this round came because I was there.
Because you were there?
Not because Karl Towns had 20-plus in the fourth quarter or because Tibbs, finally figured out, hey, I got to play some other guys, right? Let's go to the bench here late in the game. I don't know. We can't play Jalen Brunson every minute of every basketball game. It was because I was there.
The Knicks felt your presence.
You're their
in the
good luck.
building.
I was like, we got to win for Bobby. He came all the way from New York,
Sounds like you should be at the game tonight.
I probably should be. If they lose, it's because I'm not there.
Yeah.
That's exactly
That's
why.
on
You're their
you,
good
then.
luck
That's
charm.
on you.
Yep. And, I saw so many guys in the streets, too, because I cut my hair pretty funky. I know you made fun of me last week on the show, and it's fine because my love for the Indy 500 is just off the charts. But there were so many people that stopped me and be like, yo, that's a great haircut. It's crazy. That's awesome. And they would be like, where are you from? And I'm like, New York. So I thought it was kind of funny that I'm in enemy territory for Knicks fans, but more so for the Indy 500. But it was kind of cool to be there for such a special day.
So if the Knicks lose, can all of New York call you
I
and
guess
tell you how it's
they
your
could
fault
blame
also?
me. I know Ben Oppenheimer is going to be the first to text or call or I don't even know if he's going to be able to make it out if they don't win Game 6 because he's like a roller coaster ride, every game.
I don't think he'll survive.
Yeah, what a great series it's been, though.
Oh,
I
it's
mean,
been
if you're a basketball fan, I mean, you couldn't have asked for anything more than this. I mean, it's been an epic series, 2 heavyweight type of teams going at it, and it makes sense, right? The 3rd and the 4th seed, I mean, separated pretty much by a game. But as Stephen A. Smith pointed out on ESPN, I don't know if anybody in the world's going to beat OKC anyway. So even if Knicks fans are juiced about making the finals, if they're able to get there, win games 6 and 7, which I think is a distinct possibility. I wouldn't be surprised if they come back and win the series. And even if Indiana advances, I mean, they're a terrific team, but it just seems like nobody right now is anywhere near as good as the Thunder. They got the MVP of the league, and they've got this really young core that, I mean, they might be primed to be a dynasty right now.
Yeah, they look scary for the next. I'd even give them 5, 6 years.
If they can get the contract situations all
Kurt
ironed out,
Kurt
it's gonna
says
be
10 back there.
10, really.
Kurt, Knicks fans were like, I don't know if you saw that story. They were doing like voodoo to try to they had they
Oh, I
hired
saw
witches and stuff
I
like
saw
that.
that.
So the
Yeah.
Pacers been doing
Someone-
that.
Bobby, they
paid-
need anything to get the wins. The Knicks fans, they need anything. They'll pay
Some-
witches to
Yeah,
try to win.
You saw that too. They
But-
paid a witch like $20
I did not
to
see that.
cast a spell so the Knicks would win.
Listen.
was it last game?
Yes, but listen, if Knicks fans want to send me $20 to my Venmo, I'll start casting spells. I mean, I'll take them. $20, I'll take
But see,
it.
I was thinking about both you and Chris Carino II when I saw that because I was like, there has to be like a fraction of Brooklyn Net fans that would definitely get together and try to do like an anti-spell or against the Knicks winning because even Chris had DM'd me and he was like, yeah.
Kurt,
Knicks are going down.
I heard Kurt had a bonfire in his backyard last night. It was just
Really
burning
big-
Knicks paraphernalia.
Really big bonfire. I have a Latrell Sprewell signed photo from the Knicks. That was in the fire. Everything. It was burning Jalen Brunson jerseys. Don't worry about it. Me and Chris were having a small Nets fan event going on that day.
It's actually really funny. I remember Caleb Stein. He did his senior show, like his last one, and I was on it, and Chris Carino was on it, and we talked about it was going into the playoffs, and I quote Chris Carino on this: the Knicks are not going to win anything, not even a series.
For this playoffs, that's insane.
Yeah,
I would say wrong about that.
To be fair,
Well, if the refs could see in the Pistons series, they would not have won that series. So I don't want to hear it. If the refs could, I'm not going to say that foul should have been called. Don't get me wrong.
That was insane.
But if the refs could see in that series, the Pistons win, and they're probably in the conference finals right now. I think they take down the Celtics.
I don't know if
Pistons?
I think they take down the Celtics.
What?
The Celtics. I mean, the Knicks took down the Celtics, so I think that the Pistons could have definitely done it.
I don't know about that, man.
I think
Are you kidding
the
me?
Knicks
The
matched
Pistons-
up so well against Boston. I mean, that's kind of
The
been the problem
Pistons'
right now
defense is
against
so good.
Indiana. They just don't match up as well against the Pacers.
Yeah,
But
I,
that-
rooting for them obviously.
But I feel like, Bobby, the same point I have here is that the Pistons would have matched up so much, would have been that outmatch for the Celtics. They run, they gun. That's what was going wrong with the Knicks, was that the Pistons were just too much when they were running, and they were fast, and the Knicks couldn't keep up with their defense, and they struggled on shots. That's what happened with the Pistons, and that's what's exactly what happened with the Pacers. So my point is, I feel like if they played the Celtics, they probably would have beaten the Celtics, because it would have been a very out of character game that the Celtics would have had to play, because they would not be able to play at their pace that they're so used to playing at, where they slow it all down and they're able to do whatever they want.
The Celtics?
Yes.
Doesn't it kind of play into the game, wanting to shoot 45 threes a game?
Yes, but the Pistons would not let them even get off one good shot. The Knicks did that.
Oh, I
think the Pistons are still a little bit of a ways away.
They're still we're pretty young.
I might be crazy, but I feel like the Pistons could have definitely been in this Eastern Conference Finals in that same path.
Do you think the Nets could have too?
No.
Okay,
No, I do not.
I was baiting you there.
If they were able to keep together that team that they had in the beginning of the year, they probably would have made a playoff run. I don't think they probably win a series, but they probably would have been able to do it. Yeah, I think they could have made it to the playoffs. I don't think so.
Kurt's drinking the Baltimore Oriole Kool-Aid here.
No, I don't think I'm crazy about that. I mean, they were off to a really they were off to a really hot start in the beginning.
I thought Knicks fans were delusional.
I don't want to make this. I don't want to make this a Nets segment, but they were off to a really hot start in the beginning of the year. Then they traded guys away that were key pieces that made them stop winning games. They were in a lot of really key games against really good talent all year. I was at the Nets Thunder game reporting on it, and they were up for the entire game up until the fourth quarter.
The worst part of having the radio producer jump in is that you can't cut off his mic because he's in charge of all the
Bobby,
mics.
you
So
cannot
right
cut
now,
off
he's
my
just
mic.
He's just running and gunning a blaze here at the end of the show.
I can't lie. I just know, but there's no better way to put it. It's a horrific take, Kurt. That's like me saying the Raptors would make the playoffs and make a playoff run, man.
But look at their record and the personnel that they had at the time. They were doing really well. People were complaining because they were winning too many games. I mean, I'm not crazy about this right now. I might not. I might be wearing the rose-tinted glasses just a little bit, but
you're wearing them, all right.
I don't think so. I feel like they could have definitely made the play-in, if not the playoffs.
Is that why Cooper Flagg's going to Dallas now?
All right, buddy. I don't need the NBA. I don't need the NBA. I don't need to pay the NBA in my soul to get Cooper Flagg. What happened to Luka? Luka Doncic. Could you hold up your background of Google to the cameras, please?
Yeah, I can actually.
Could you do that?
I can.
He's not coming back, Brendan. He's never coming back.
We got Cooper Flagg though. He's not.
He's never coming back, buddy.
Yeah, Kurt, this is mean, man. This is mean.
He's never coming back. Well, you just dug right back at me.
I don't need him back now. We have Cooper Flagg.
That's ridiculous.
Cooper might be pretty good. I mean, it's possible.
I'm very hopeful for that. Sets us up for the future and for now.
Yep, until Kyrie Irving or Anthony Davis do something incorrect, and then your whole team explodes.
Okay, well, actually, Anthony Davis will probably get injured.
And Kyrie will go on some tangent that everyone
There's
will
a
not
lot of
like.
hate going on here. From the
Sorry,
other side
I'm
of
the one.
glass.
I'm the one
Shaq's
that
getting fired
I
back
was
and
the
forth
one
through the glass.
The Nets were brought up. I just had to defend my guys. That's all I got to say, Bobby.
I'm not even normally a Nets hater, Kurt. So apologies there.
You know, Kurt's having a very rough spring because he's got Juan Soto on his fantasy team, and things have just not.
And his actual team.
It's just not.
You know, Bobby. I know you wish that the Yankees still had Juan Soto at some point. There's no way that you could tell me that they
you
didn't
can have
wish
him
that they
for all
still
that
had
money,
him.
especially
All
if he
right.
can't hit home runs
The way
anymore.
he's
I don't
playing.
know.
I think any team would have taken Juan Soto.
Yeah, they would have, but he's batting .230 right now.
Yeah, the Mets
Okay.
ruined him.
Oh,
How
he'll
did the
stay
Mets
right
ruin
back
Juan
up.
Soto?
I love Frank the Tank, man, because he just he loses his mind on social media about the Mets, obviously, and his latest take is that Soto's just trash. That's what he said. Soto's
I'm not a
garbage.
big. I think a lot of Mets fans aren't big Frank the Tank fans, and I lost all respect for Frank the Tank after he stopped being a Nets fan and he jumped ship to the Knicks.
That's
So-
fair. I actually saw him when I did I want to say it was the Mets-Dodgers game. I was walking in, and I saw him right in line. I walked right by him, and he looked pretty happy because the Mets weren't losing yet.
All right, listen, the Mets have won a ton of games, so they're off to a pretty good start, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, postseason baseball different than regular season baseball, and that'll be
It's a new season.
That'll be where we find out how good Juan Soto really is. He's been typically good in the playoffs, so if he leads the Mets to the World Series, then his regular season struggles will be all forgiven.
They will.
But
right, Kurt?
it's got to happen first, and right now Kurt's not
I
in
have
first
zero
in his fantasy
qualms.
baseball
I have
league,
zero
so.
qualms about Juan Soto. I don't know. I have zero anger about him. I have zero upset about him. Like, I'm okay right now.
You
It's
just
just a
paid that man
slump,
the
dude.
biggest
Like,
contract
nothing's
in sports history.
Great. Steve Cohen has the money to pay him. If Steve Cohen could have done it again, I mean, like, it's not my money, so I don't really care about the money that he's
Soto
paying him.
cost the Mets and Kurt Sipple the fantasy baseball championship, a
That's
Mets championship
different-
and a
that-
fantasy
Kurt,
baseball
I
championship.
I came second in my fantasy league last year, Bobby. I cannot do that again. It's happening this year, and especially if I can beat Nick Palmer with Juan Soto on my
Hey-
fantasy baseball team,
hey,
would make
Kurt.
it even sweeter.
Hey, Kurt, I just want to make sure I heard you right. He's just in a slump.
I think so.
In a 60-game slump?
You know, baseball's a long season, Brendan. We're not even halfway through yet. It's not even halfway.
We're not. I hope his slump doesn't last any longer than 60 games, though.
I don't think. Listen, man, I was there when he hit those 2 home runs on that Wednesday game against. I don't remember. I think I actually don't remember. But again, man, I'm telling you, this is a different Mets. I was talking about this last week on 1-on-1 with Grace and Tucker. This is a different Mets vibe. I've been to afternoon games that have felt like night games. That doesn't happen at Citi Field very often. You feel like you're a part of something right now. And whether that's because Juan Soto's there and he's in a slump, but people are still enjoying watching him, whether it's just because the Mets are having a really hot start to the season, whether it's because last year they went up to the NLCS, I want to be a part of it. And if that has to be me cheering on Juan Soto, even when he's in a, as you said, 60-game slump, you know what? So be it. I've been through so much suffering as a Mets fan. My entire life has been low Mets. My entire life has been low Mets. Now I have something to root for, and I finally am able to do it. So why can I just be happy, even when the guy who was the top free agent in all of baseball finally chose a team, and he chose the Mets, and this is the first time ever. This is the biggest free agent they've ever gotten.
Kurt, may I just interject real fast and suggest this? Did you feel this good when the Nets got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving
Yes,
and
I did.
James Harden?
Bobby, I
Because
think-
I don't know. How did that work out?
I think Bobby.
I don't remember it being too good.
All right. I think Bobby, when it happens that the best free agents in the class choose your team, you feel like you're finally legit.
Yeah.
You feel legitimate.
But I'm saying,
and
if,
that's
if,
like
if Soto's like Durant, do you think the Mets go like a year or
if
two
Soto's
and then trade him?
If Soto's like Durant, man, you almost go to the NBA Finals and then his toes on the line, but you can't do that with Soto. But I don't think the Mets are trading Juan Soto. One, I don't think anyone wants his contract. Two, I think that he's here for the long haul. I think if Mets, I actually think, Bobby, I think you would agree with me here, that if the Mets traded Juan Soto, I think there would be protests outside of the stadium for the next 5 years, like the Luka trade, but even longer.
I mean, I could see him being here
There's
for
no
a
way it
while.
lasts
I don't know
longer
if
than
he
Luka.
makes it through all 15
Luka got a
years? I mean, how many
funeral,
years
man.
has he signed
Yeah,
for?
I wanna
It's
say
15, but then it's an opt-out after 10, I think. So I think he could stay here for 10 years. I don't see why he can't. I don't
Yeah.
see why not. I mean, The Mets are, as we can see, been a great ran organization for the most part at the moment. They have an owner that really cares about winning. That's not always something that happened with the Wilpons. I know, Bobby, you were around for much longer than I was when you saw the Wilpons basically never doing anything.
I mean, the Mets
for the
would
most
never
part.
usually get the premier free agent.
That's my
There were
point.
times that they were in the mix. I mean, Alex Rodriguez was going to be a Met. That obviously, fell through. And they've gotten other big-name players, but at that time, you would definitely see the Mets get players that, like a Jason Bay, like someone that was an all-star, but maybe not the top player in the free agent class. And now I think that has changed. I mean, obviously, even like getting Lindor at that time, I mean, that was a guy that even the Yankees, I think, coveted, and the Mets got him.
Yeah, that was a big one. The Mets have started to turn that
Money
narrative
talks,
around.
man. Money talks.
It does.
It does talk, and the New York Mets will be the World Series champs just in a few months. Juan Soto will be
boy.
hoisting a trophy.
Second place, Kurt. That's what I'm gonna start calling him.
Listen, Kurt, I'm with you with the Mets support
And
here.
we got the jersey on
the
Brendan.
Camo Sean Manaea jersey. I'm with you on the Mets support, but Juan Soto kind of deserves this right now.
He does. Absolutely.
He's a traitor, Kurt. Traitor.
Like, what does that mean? I don't like.
do you mean?
Why,
Like,
why
what
does
does
he
that mean?
deserve it? He went and took a big contract because someone wanted to pay him. So, like,
Yep.
what's the difference?
So play like you deserve that money.
Exactly. He does no effort in what he does.
I don't
He just-
think there's no effort.
I think
that
there's still
that's-
effort.
I think that's the most overblown thing in the world.
You want what is it? Set however many hundreds of millions of dollars. Go bet.
But also,
go,
it's
don't
not-
go bet 230.
It's the first year of a 15-year contract, man. I'm seeing people with signs, like little kids holding signs that saying, "I'm going to be watching Soto till I'm 22." So, like, that's awesome, man. Like,
That's
that you have someone to
Unless
root
he
around.
bats 230 every year.
You still can watch him till he's 22. I mean, 230 is not that bad. Unless you're
For
with
him?
Juan Soto. Yes,
This
I
is
agree.
cope.
That
This
would
is
be bad.
crazy cope.
But I'm just saying in general that you finally, Bobby, I don't think there's ever been somebody that I can say that the Mets fan has been able to rally around
Oh, of
like Juan
course.
Soto.
Yeah.
Mike Piazza, maybe? And he
Piazza
was not even
big.
a
I
free
mean, they
agent.
traded for him, but he was definitely, at that time, the best catcher in the National League.
Another
so.
guy that had a slow start when he was with the Mets for the
He
first
did.
time.
You're right. He did.
So
and then he picked it up at the end of the season, and they re-signed him to an extension. So
I'm just
and
saying.
that worked out very well. They, obviously went to the World Series in 2000. I can't remember who they lost to. Oh yeah, the Yankees. That's who
All
they
right,
lost.
Bobby. Were you there too?
I was alive for that. So unlike many of you all that never
I
saw
think
the Mets
almost-
win a
I
World
think-
Series, I've actually can say that I have.
It's kind of crazy.
It is kind of crazy, but no, I wish them luck too. Maybe orange and blue just is the colors that you don't want your team to have. I don't know. It could be because Knicks fans.
It's
are,
a different orange and blue with the
You know.
Mets than the Knicks. I like to say.
they've long waited for a championship. I mean, how crazy? No, seriously, on a more serious note, how crazy is that both the Pacers and the Knicks have not? First of all, Pacers never won an NBA title, and the last time they won a championship, they were part of the ABA, which doesn't even exist anymore, back in 1973, and that's the same season. That is the last Knicks championship, 72-73. So one of these three teams going to win their first NBA title first for OKC, and then first long time coming championship for the other two teams in the East if it does happen.
It's amazing for the league. It's great. It's so great to see like refreshing faces amongst the final four players teams. Sorry,
Teams.
And I love seeing these teams that have not had historically great success actually go out there and make a name for themselves for once. And even the Knicks, sure, yeah, they've won 2 championships before. They've been historically awful, and it's nice to see New York actually have something to look forward to.
The New York sports scene has a lot of promise right now outside of Juan Soto, Kurt.
And Kurt's fantasy team, too.
And Kurt's fantasy team. But that's going to do it from us here for this segment. We're going to be back. We mentioned a draft earlier. That is occurring on the other side of this break. You got to stick around to see what we're drafting, but stay tuned for that.
Hi, this is Spiro Ditas, WFUV class of 2001. WFUV is the epicenter of Fordham athletics, with live coverage of Fordham football, men's and women's basketball, and of course, our iconic Saturday show, One on One. So keep your radios locked in right here, 90.7 FM, for all things WFUV Sports.
Welcome back to One on One, our final segment today. It is a draft. Yes, you heard that right. We're doing a draft of team fan bases in the big four sports. So NBA, MLB, NFL, NHL, any team and their fan base. We're drafting them. The kind of way you're going to rank them is it's the intangibles, to be completely honest. It's electricity. It's how cool, how funny, whatever you kind of, however you prioritize that. But we are drafting fan bases, me versus Trey, and we're going to do rock, paper, scissors.
Best out of 3 or 1?
We'll just do one
All right.
for the first overall pick.
All right, ready?
And it's unfair because you've seen my list, but
I don't remember it.
Okay. All right.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
And I win the first pick. Awesome. And I am taking with the first overall pick in the 2025 fan base draft, the Buffalo Bills.
That's a pretty good pick.
Orchard Park is electric. The fans out there, snow covering the fields. First off, the fans going and shoveling the field to get the snow out of the way for the team to play. Insane. That's awesome.
Animals, man.
But even then, at the tailgates before the game, jumping on the tables, like that was a Bills trend.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of spread. But seeing all these guys shirtless in probably 5-degree weather,
probably less,
and jumping on tables, you cannot tell me it gets any more electric than that. The Bills are my first overall pick.
I know before I was saying that my first pick was gonna be unexpected, but I realized you're never gonna pick them, so I'm not gonna take them in the first pick. So
you missed my pick.
All right, for the second overall pick, my pick is the Kansas City Chiefs, the Red Kingdom.
Wow. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, they were at 10 on my list.
Now listen, right? When you're in that stadium, man. We see them so much because, NFL has to put them on half the primetime games of every season. They are absolutely electric in that stadium. You got the great chants, Arrowhead's always rocking and
Swag
stuff.
surf.
And listen, you got the Taylor Swift, you got the Taylor Swift fans out there.
Oh my God.
Biggest fan base in the NFL, definitely. All right, with new fans, biggest fan base in the NFL probably, right? There's just so much going for that team, going for that fan base. I think there's definitely a good pick.
All right, my turn again. We're not snaking it. With the third overall pick in the 2025 fan base draft, I select the Philadelphia Phillies. Give me Red October any day of the week. Kurt, don't look at me like that.
All right, listen, man. I'm going to stay in Philly for this one, all right?
Hold on. Kurt looks like he's got something to say.
The Phillies?
Yep, you heard me.
Yeah, that was
I
kind
would
of
have
crazy.
taken probably the Eagles first.
Hey, don't say that yet.
I can't do that as a Cowboys
I
fan.
wouldn't take them. I despise any Philadelphia team, but why the Phillies?
Red October, that's
they
why.
Are awful, man.
Red October.
They took over the Mets Stadium, and then they lost in the NLDS. Talking trash, man. They're bad. They're just a bad fan base. They're a bad fan base.
Yeah, you don't like them because you're a Mets fan.
Kurt, let me help you out.
You don't like them because you're a Mets fan.
Bad fan base.
You're
buddy.
a Mets fan.
Figure it out.
Let me help you out here.
Start again, Brendan.
Let me
Figure
make
this
the
out,
right
buddy.
pick. I'll make the right pick here, right? Number 4, we got the Eagles. I hate the Eagles. They're my least favorite team ever in sports, probably. But at the end of the day, those fans are complete animals, man. They go out there and destroy all of Philadelphia when they go out, man. It is bad. And no fan base gets my nerves more riled up than the Eagles, so I gotta pick them.
That's fair. I also gotta say this because Kurt, I just remembered this. Back when the Phillies went on the run to the World Series, so when they, what was the song? Dancing in the, you know that video they had in the bar where all the players were like up above and all the fans were down below, and that song was I'm blinking on the song.
Dancing in the Moonlight or something? What?
No. Oh my God, Kurt back there. Do you remember that song at all from the Phillies postseason run a couple of years ago? What song was it? Dancing on My Own. Yep. That was electric. Don't give a thumbs down. Okay, for my third pick in the draft, I'm taking my own team, the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think there's really any way you could argue that the Cowboys should be on here. Nicknamed America's team, by the way, for those of you that don't know. But they take that 3 spot for me pretty easily.
All right. I'm going over to the NHL for this one. I'm going to pick now I just picked the most obnoxious fan base for the NFL. I'm going to the most obnoxious fan base for the NHL. We're going to go with the Maple Leafs here. Absolutely horrible people, man. These guys just either they hate their team or they love their team. There's no in between. They win one game, they're the best team in the league. They lose one game, sell the team, right? Those are the kind of funny fans that make the league what it is, right? Everyone has their rat on the Maple Leafs when they lose and eventually to their inevitable round 1 exit to the Bruins, even though that did not happen this year. But they still lost in absolutely hilarious fashion to the Panthers, and it's just so funny to see how the amazing Maple Leafs fans react every time.
For those of you watching or listening, if you can't tell, Trey has more of an NHL knowledge than I do, and I have 0 hockey teams on my list for the record.
That's a bad mistake.
I don't think it is.
No Dallas Stars pick?
No Dallas Stars. I mean,
that's a good fan base.
They are a great fan base. I just think there's better. With the 4, I'm gonna go ahead and take the Steelers. With my 4, I'm taking the
Terrible
Steelers.
towel.
Yeah, that's exactly why. The terrible towels. When that place is filled up on a Sunday night game against the Ravens and the terrible towels are out, it's one of well, I haven't experienced it, but it looks like one of the best atmospheres that you could get in the NFL. In basically, obviously they made my list, so in the big 4 sports, but Steelers at the 4 for me.
Now, I'm going back to the NHL for this one, and this is actually, in my opinion, the best fan base in all of sports. And that's who I was going to pick my number 1 pick, but I was like, you're not going to pick them anyway. So, this is another towel team I got right here, the Winnipeg Jets. When in the playoffs, oh my God, the whiteouts, that barn is rocking, bro. They're waving their own terrible towels around. They got the white towels going all over the place. An absolute sea of white coats the stadium, man. It is a great image. It's a great image to see. And you just had to see what the place was like when the Jets score with 1 second left in the game. The roof just blew off the top.
I mean, listen, the Stars played them in the second round of the playoffs this year, and I saw that, and that's electric. But did you see the song they put out?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
that's not their whole fan base.
That takes away from them for me big time.
I forgot about that.
I cannot justify putting that song on the list. It was terrible. It was so bad. Anyways, on to my 5th pick. I'm in between a couple. Okay. For the 5th pick for me, I'm taking the Knicks. I was in between. I was going New York. I was in between them and the Yankees. But I think New York will burn down if the Knicks win the championship. And I don't think. Well, actually, I don't think that would happen if the Yankees won the World Series this year at all. Maybe parts of the Bronx. But Manhattan burns.
Yankee fandom is weak.
The rest of New York is safe, I think.
Manhattan burns if the Knicks win.
Yeah.
Manhattan burns if the Knicks lose. Manhattan burns either way. Brooklyn will be fine, though.
Yeah. No one cares about those Nets over there. Come on.
Sorry, Kurt.
All right.
It's fine. When the Nets win a champ, none of you are invited.
Dude, I'll be dead by then.
None of you are invited. It's happening in 2027. None of you will be invited to the parade.
With who? Cooper? Oh, wait, no, he's a Mav.
You know what, man? I still want to just Luka's not coming back, bro. He's just not coming back. That's all I got to say.
It's okay.
All right. I'm going to go to who the Knicks absolutely hate. We're going to go with the Celtics here, right?
Okay, I like that pick.
And I'm just picking really mean and annoying fan bases. Even though I don't like them, I know if they were a fan base for my team, I would love to be part of that. So, yeah, I think Celtics is a pretty good pick to go with. Not as rowdy as Knicks fans who are going to go and burn their city. I don't think Boston will ever be burning.
No.
But that environment in there is crazy.
I'm not going to lie. I was prepared for a 5 team draft, but I could keep going if you have more teams on your list.
Keep on going.
All right. I am going to take. Ooh, this is tough. I'm in between two teams again, and neither of them are the Yankees. I'm going to take, with my 6th pick, I'm taking the Packers.
That's a good pick. The Cheeseheads, man.
The Cheeseheads, Lambeau Field.
Dude, that draft.
The rivalry.
When Golden was coming out of the tunnel, dude, the Go Pack Go, that was awesome.
It's so tough. And that rivalry, the Aaron Rodgers discount double check. Give me the Packers.
That's a good pick. All right. For this one, this is a very new revelation for me because I never actually realized how good this fan base was until these playoffs because they are phenomenal. As strange as this is, because they don't actually have a lot of fans, but it doesn't matter that they don't have a lot of fans. It's the fact that the fans that they got are great. And that's the Thunder, man.
Really?
Yes. Dude, I did not know they were such good fans. But it's similar to the Jets. You go into the games all white out usually, or it could be a blowout. But when it's the white out, that arena is bumping, dude. They are so loud. And I never realized that. I didn't realize the Thunder had so much passionate fans for Oklahoma, you know?
That is crazy. We need Kurt, actually. You guys in the back, let us know which list is better. All right? We'll go rapid fire real quick. I have Bills, Phillies, Cowboys, Steelers, Knicks, Packers.
Ooh. I got Winnipeg, KC, Maple Leafs, Celtics, Eagles, and Thunder, I believe. Yes, I think that was correct.
Yeah.
I think Trey takes the trophy on this one. Any list with the Knicks in it, I think they can all agree with me back here.
Okay,
it's not a list
that's
for me.
Insane. Straight off, the Knicks is crazy. You know that fan base is crazy.
They're annoying. I don't know about crazy.
They're gonna burn.
You can tell me that they're gonna burn the city down all you want. I think they're more annoying than crazy.
I obviously I disagree. I'm getting judged by a Nick hater back there. A big known Nets fan. Kurt
Brogan
Sippel.
says you win.
Thank you,
Final
Brogan.
tiebreaker.
It's even now.
Bobby C. Trey.
Yup.
We'll let the TikTok decide.
We will let the
go
TikTok
up.
decide. This will
That's
be
why
on the
you use
FUV
puck.
socials.
That's why you use puck.
I guess so. Unfortunately, that is going to be all from us here today on this edition of One on One. If you missed any of our segments from today's show, be sure to go check them out. WFUV Sports YouTube page. You will find everything you're looking for there and more. What a pleasure it was, Trey.
It was great, man.
It really was. It was a fun show, a fun two-man show. The sports director of WFUV is Bobby Chaffardini. Our video producer was Brogan DeSherdo. Our radio producer was Kurt Sippel, Big Kurt. For Trey Rodriguez, I'm Brendan Shorey, saying thanks for tuning in and see y'all later. One on One is a production of WFUV Sports.